supported by listening. Now, I would request everyone to please stand up for national anthem. Thank you very much. Please be seated. To officially start the event, I would like to invite Air Commodore Retired Razar Haider, Director, Center for Aerospace and Security Studies, to deliver a keynote. Please join us on stage. Big round of applause.
Should I start off with the presentation? First of all, thank you very much, NICAT, for inviting me to speak on a very Okay, so just a profile. I am, by the way, Director Emerging Technologies and Aerospace Industry at the Center of Aerospace and Security Studies, and much of my life period has been spent in the aerospace industry, that is around 30 years, some years in China aerospace industry as well. So I will be sharing my experience of the aerospace industry with you people and how the technologies are going to have its impact on it. This is some of the links which we may follow on the social media. So gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is cyber threats in space industry, protecting the critical aerospace systems. There are three keywords in this topic: cyber, space industry, aerospace systems. And you need to understand these three words. Cyber, as we all know, is computer hardware, softwares, networking, communication, that is cyber. And the most important word here is space industry. What is the space industry? What are the space domains? We are sitting in the NICAT, which is National Incubation Center for Aerospace Technologies. So what are the aerospace technologies? We need to understand. What is the aerospace systems? So based on this, I have divided my presentation scope in this sequence. What are aerospace domains? What is aerospace industry? What are the emerging technologies related to aerospace? And key cyber threats and approach to protect the aerospace systems. Then in the later part we'll take the question and answer sections. So let's start off with the aerospace domains. These are the major aerospace domains, starting from the aerospace power, which we call air power and the space power. The next domain comes the aerospace industry, which we'll talk in detail today. What comprises of aerospace industry? इसके अंदर आता क्या है? What is in the aerospace industry? Then comes the air and space travel industry. There is the commercial liners, airlines, and now the space is also a commercial industry after the Elon Musk SpaceX. Then comes the aerospace economy. Once we have the industry of travel, we have the aerospace industry. Then we have the economy. Aerospace economy actually generated from these two. And then geopolitical dominance, definitely the country which has the aerospace economy, has the aerospace power, has the aerospace industry, it is likely to have a geopolitical dominance. So this is the importance of aerospace and aerospace domains. Coming to the aerospace industry, I will be very fast because I will try to cover all within the 15 minutes. Aerospace industry mainly comprises of these 6 elements. Starting from the research and development centers, if you are from the startups, you are in the stage of research and development. Flight test centers, once you test your startup, then serial production factories, then that product is now introduced in the field, that is operations and maintenance setups, the life cycle support of that equipment, that aerospace equipment, that is the supply chains, and then the MRO, maintenance, repair, overall factories. Now some equipment needs repair, some needs overall, so we need the setups for those also. So all this comprises of the aerospace industry, and with this magnitude, you can understand once the cyber is going to attack the industry, what the havoc cyber can play in any part of this, and any of the cycle has been stopped, the whole cycle will be stopped. After understanding what is the aerospace industry, let's see what are the aerospace industry products. Now, what is the food of all these factories? Whether it is a military or a commercial, the food is either the spacecraft, it's an aircraft, the drones, the weapons, helicopters, ground equipment, rockets, satellites, name anything which is flying in the air. Aerospace comprises of 2 words, aero, space. Aero means air. Air is still 100 kilometer height from the ground, from the earth. It is aero. After that, it's called space. So when we say aerospace, comprising anything which is flying from the ground till billion of kilometers from here. So aerospace. So all these things are flying in this aerospace, and all these things when manufactured, that is known as the aerospace industry, and that has undergone the last slide cycles which I have shown you. I would love to have your questions regarding this if some coming in your mind. Coming to the emerging technologies related to the aerospace industry, one of them is cyber. After understanding what is the aerospace industry, what are the products of aerospace industry, let's see what are the emerging technologies related to the aerospace industry. Few 9 are here. Otherwise, I suggest you must read the list of emerging technologies by the National Science and Technology Council USA issued this year. The list of emerging technologies, all those which are strategic technologies, have impact on the security also. So I have taken out 9 out of those 18 which have impact on the aerospace. These are the quantum computing, 3D manufacturing, AI, data privacy, cyber security, which is the topic of today, UAVs, robotics, human-machine interface, hypersonics more than Mach 5, integrated networks through satellites, everything, space technologies, all, and quantum computing. So these are the 9 major aerospace technologies which are important for the aerospace industry and can have impact after the cyber attack. And remember, these are the technologies. These are not the products. Products are made out of these technologies. For example, UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle or unmanned aerial systems. It is a product of, or it's a fusion of advanced computing, AI, data, integrated network, space, and advanced manufacturing, 3D manufacturing. So let it be very clear, what are the technologies, what are the products? Products are made out of the many technologies. Coming to the topic of key cyber threats in aerospace industry. After understanding what is the aerospace industry, what are the technologies of aerospace industry, let's see what are the threats to it. Jamming attacks. This is the major key threat. Can disrupt the communication channels between the ground station and satellites, potentially causing signal loss and compromised control. I have one example in the hyperlink slide. If you look up, click the hyperlink slide. The first one. This is the next generation ISR. Next generation ISR. What is ISR? Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Main aerospace system, one of the major aerospace system is ISR. Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. And nowadays it is connected through the satellites. So the whole systems from ground stations, in the middle the UAVs or drones, and the upper side it has satellites. The drones are communicating with the satellites as well as the ground station. Now think of it, if this has been cyber attacked, it has been jammed, what can happen? The whole operation can be stopped. So there is a vulnerability of the cyber attack in case if it going in the direction of jamming. Can you please come back to the main? Coming to the second, supply chain vulnerabilities. Space systems rely on the complex supply chains that include hardware and software from multiple sources. Give an example, the Boeing is manufactured in more than 50 countries. It starts in more than 50 locations, then got assembled at one place. So any aerospace system is generally manufactured at different locations, got assembled, so it has a supply chain vulnerability. Similarly, in our country, most of the aerospace systems are imported from outside, from abroad. So they have the supply chain vulnerabilities. And what can be the example of the supply chain vulnerability is a pager attack just last month in the Lebanon. Can you please click the hyperlink? If you may not be knowing, I would like to tell you that the pagers, which is on the left side and the walkie-talkie on the right side, they were blasted in Lebanon last month. At the same time, 3:20 p.m. on 21st September, more than 500 pagers blasted at the same time. How? Was it a cyber attack? It may be or may not be, but it is ascertained that a small explosive device was installed inside during the supply chain. It was manufactured in Hungary, ordered by Taiwan, used in Lebanon, owned by pager. So many agencies are involved. Anybody can put any cyber or any threat or explosive inside the supply chain in any of the system that can prove to be very fatal. And that killed so many people, injured 750, supply chain dependencies are critical. That is why self-reliance is important. So we should get rid of all those imports. We have to be self-reliant. Your startups are important for this purpose, so that we can be self-reliant, at least in the aerospace technologies. And the next target may be the mobile phones. Because we also import the mobile phones. And during the import, there are so many areas where this mobile phone go before we reach to our hands. So next war may not be only in air, sea or land. It can be in our rooms. It can be in our home through the mobile phone. Next please. Jamming attacks. Next please slide. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Malware attacks, the virus attacks, and that can target ground-based facilities, satellites operator, causing data disruptions. Can you please click the loyal wingman drones? Just to give you an example of here, there's a loyal wingman concept. You must read this concept that one aircraft would be the manned and the other aircraft would be the unmanned. This is known as loyal wingman concept. And you can just imagine if the unmanned aircraft is cyber attacked, what would happen? It can kill its own owner. It can kill anybody. I would suggest a movie Stealth in a Netflix nowadays on this concept. Get back please. There's another swarm drones which are all totally digitized swarm drones where the thousands and thousands of drones can attack somebody. And you can imagine if these thousands of drones can be cyber attacked, can be controlled by third party, what the havoc they can play. And important is they are all suicidal drones. They are non-recoverable. They are all suicidal drones, generally in number of thousands or maybe 10,000. Next please. This is just an example of the swarm attack on the ship. Just it was a trial and they could ascertain that these are unstoppable. Can we go back please from the home? Last is the data theft or the espionage, where the data can be taken from any aerospace, whether R&D center or the manufacturing center. Just an example, the Boeing data theft by its own employee in 2018 for some other country, and Chinese cyber espionage on US aerospace system Titan Rain, you can Google it. 7 approaches to protect the aerospace systems. I will just go by the headings. Details will be covered by my esteemed colleagues. Multi-layered security for ground and space-based assets, robust cybersecurity standards like the NIST guidelines. I am sure you must be knowing the NIST national standards. Then the regular penetration testings, enhanced collaboration across the different sectors, means between the space agencies, between the defense organizations, the private aerospace companies, all of them can share the threats. Use of AI to counter the threat, redundancy, backup systems, incident response protocols, that is CERT, Cyber Emergency Response Team. We have a national CERT also, organization of CERTs, so every department has its own CERT. With this I conclude my brief with the last slide, and this is the Space Agenda 2025 of USA. And you can see that in the Space Agenda 2025, number one task is space security. Space security, development and exploration are the critical elements of national policy and strategy for the US. And this is written by the Center for Policy and Strategy. You can Google it, it's available in the PDF. With this I thank you all and see you in the question answer.
Thank you very much, Air Commodore Raza Haider, for an insightful presentation on cyber threats in space industry. Moving to our first panel discussion, that is on cyber threats in space industry, protecting the critical aerospace system. For that instance, I would like to invite Dr. Najam Abbas Naqvi, Chairman, National Center for GIS Space Applications. So please join us on stage. Dr. Harun Javed Qureshi, CEO and founder, East West Infantry Private Limited, was about to join in, but unfortunately last moment पे कोई उनको काम आ गया, he would not be able to make it. हम उनके कुछ comments यहाँ पर add on करेंगे. Air Commodore Raza Haider, Director, Center for Aerospace and Security Studies. Please join us on stage. Air Commodore Jawad Ali Raja, Cyber Tech and IA Division, NASDAQ. So please join us. And our moderator, Shamir Zishan, founder and CEO, Stella Lines. Big round of applause for all these speakers and the moderator. Thank you very much for joining us. I would like to request everyone to give a brief introduction about yourself before starting the panel discussion, and then Shamir, audience is yours, speakers are yours. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Shamir Zishan and I'm the founder and CEO of Stellar Lines Private Limited. What we do in Stellar Lines is make space sciences and rocketry easy for students like yourself. So, अगर किसी को space science के बारे में इतना नहीं पता, तो हम बच्चों के लिए space science को gamification के थ्रू आसान कर रहे हैं, ताकि हर बच्चा अपनी हमारी global space economy में contribute कर सके और हम इसको लेके एक साथ आगे चल सकें. तो thank you so much. Sir.
My name is Air Commodore Jawad, I have experience working in networking and background in cyber security also. We are working on development and implementation of cyber security protocols in NASDAQ and PF setup. Hopefully if you have any questions, satellite is a part of important, it plays an important role in communication, data communication and normal telephone communication, broadcast. और obviously like any network भी vulnerable है cyber threats के against, ठीक है, और बहुत से लोग हैं जो काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे एक Commodore Raza Haider ने already cover किया कि it is a vulnerable field क्योंकि it is important and people realize it's important, so it is vulnerable to different threats. If you have any questions, ठीक है, और इसकी क्या threats हैं, क्या frameworks हैं जो इसको address कर रहे हैं, what are the mitigation layers, so I would love to share my ideas and opinion on that.
I think already introduction has been done, so please don't thank you, it's me Dr. Najam, and I'm the chairman at National Center of GIS and Space Applications, and I have been, my specialization, or you could say my degree is in global navigation satellite systems. So I have two ideas, a little thing I know about the GPS stuff, the satellites. So mainly my area is related with the communication satellites, remote sensing satellites, and especially the global navigation satellite systems.
So let's begin with the discussion. Air Commodore Raza, the insightful presentation was quite helpful, and as we are a think tank and we have many startups and businesses over here, so let's go to a global perspective. Like, how do you see aerospace as a tool of economy?
Okay, thank you, Shamir. A very good question. How we can see a technology as a tool of economy, because you are the startups, businessmen, future. You see, any country which want to have a geopolitical dominance, they need two things. One is power, second is economy. Without these two things, no country can have an influence or a geopolitical dominance in the world. And the good part is technology gives the both. Technology gives the power as well as economy. How? Power, if the technology is utilized in making the weapons or the aircraft or the satellites, they become the tools of power. They can be used for the influence. Military industrial complex of USA, you can Google it and you will come to know that how much billion of dollars that is earning for the USA by exporting the military weapons. So that is a power. Coming to the economy, once any technology is invented, have a indigenous self-reliant technology, that technology is exported, can be exported. That will become the tool of economy. That has the after-sales maintenance. I've shown you the aerospace industry cycle starting from the R&D, which is the first stage, till the overall of that product. You keep on earning that product till end of that cycle. So that is a tool of economy. So my humble suggestion would be, you must work on the self-reliance of the indigenous technologies, being the owner of that technology, own that technology, then get it in the serial production and then start exporting it. So it's, in this way it is a tool of economy.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, I'd like to float another question, like, what do you know about cyber threats that are affecting our space systems? Like, can you give any insights on that?
Thank you. Just coming to the exact topic, that is the cybersecurity threats for the aerospace.
Yes, sir.
I will talk just about the space side, because the aero side, they are like expert ones, and for exact cyber security, so it is expert one. I just want to give you a short picture that when we talk about the space sector, what are the areas and what are the threat areas. Basically, first we have to identify that where the threat can happen. So, just 2 minutes. Let's start with the whole architecture of any space system. The first thing is the launch of any space vehicle. It can be a satellite, it can be anything. So the first site is the launch facility. I would say the first thing is the launch facility, from where you launch the launcher, and with the launcher you launch some satellite. First is the launch facility. Then comes the launch vehicle, the vehicle on which you are sending some satellite into the space. Then the space system, the satellite or the International Space Station or whatever it is, that thing that is in the space. Then comes the ground station. But before the ground station, the satellite is sending some sort of data, because all the satellites are designed either for the Earth observation, for communication, for navigation or anything. They are sending the data. So the next thing is the ground segment, where you are, the first part is where you are communicating with the satellite. That is one part. And the other part is when you are receiving the data from the satellite. Then, at the ground station, if I talk about the Earth observation satellites, you are getting the data related with the Earth observation. So, the part over here is the data that you are receiving. And then, the next part is, because from the data, you get the information. From that information, you develop the applications. Next comes the applications which you are developing based on the data. So this is what I call, this is the space chain, starting from the launch facility till till the application that has been developed, and that is based on the data, on the signal, because that data can be the image, it can be a data in the form of the communication signal, it can be a data in the form of the navigation signal. Now, if we know this broad structure, now let's see where we can attack these systems. So starting from the launch facility till the application, everything is controlled and based upon some softwares or the hardwares. And now what I can do, if I have to do, because what I feel that the next era or the next time is the war with the cyber threats. There is no need to do anything by just going into the territory of the enemy. You just stay at your home, you should be an expert on the software systems or maybe in the hardware systems, and then attack. It's very easy. So, for the attack, you can attack the hardware or the software. As Raza mentioned, it was a very wonderful presentation because it explained everything. Now we are just exploring that. So either you can attack the hardware or the software, and all this chain that I have mentioned, there are the hardware and the softwares. Now, there are two things. I would suggest that you the people are from the different startups. One thing is that you are thinking that how to protect from those cyber attacks. I would open the field, just go to see that how you will attack. You should not be at the defending position always. I know there is a term like ethical hackers. So let's become the defensive hackers. And that is needed. Because if you can hack, then you can stop. So, sorry for the long talk.
So can you tell us about the Aerospace now on cyber attacks? Sir has covered the space systems. Can we hear about
Sir Raza could better shed light on that. I can talk about cyber threats and
cyber threats on the aerospace systems?
on aerospace. Sure. As Sir Nagam has already highlighted, हर जगह सैटेलाइट मौजूद है, इट्स एवरीवेयर. ठीक, अगर हम गौर करें, इवन बहुत सी ऐसी जगहों पे मौजूद है जो हम शायद फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन पे रियलाइज नहीं करते. ठीक है, अगर आप टेक्निकल सिस्टम से बात कर रहे हैं, नेविगेशन, कम्युनिकेशन, डाटा कम्युनिकेशन, टाइम स्टैंपिंग, जितने आपके सिस्टम सिंक्रोनाइज होते हैं, दे नीड टाइम स्टैंपिंग जो सैटेलाइट्स दे रही हैं. ये वो ऐसी चीजें जो शायद कॉमन नॉलेज में नहीं है, लेकिन इट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अगर सैटेलाइट अवेलेबल ना हो, इट वुड बिकम अ केओस. ठीक है ना, बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स का लॉस, रेपुटेशन लॉस. ठीक, साइबर अटैक्स होते क्या हैं? सर नजम जो बात कर रहे थे, द सिस्टम वर्क्स लाइक दैट. साइबर को दो हिस्सों में, जो अगर हम स्पेस सिस्टम्स की बात करें, दो हिस्सों में डिवाइड करते हैं. वन इज embedded systems, which are part of the spaceship or any critical system. They talk about embedded security. उसमें what comprises embedded security? Software, जिसमें operating systems हैं उसके, अपने उसके drivers शामिल हैं, then applications, जो उन operating system के ऊपर run कर रही हैं. Third is hardware. Hardware में आ जाता है supply chain. Pager attack is a typical example of hardware, जो भी उसमें उन्होंने malwares या backdoors छोड़ दिए. Fourth चीज is networks. जो आपकी embedded device है, it is actually communicating with other systems because it becomes a part of the system. जो आपको पिक्चर दिखाई गई थी, UAVs, drones, actually it is a complete network. और जैसे सर ने बात की, जो सैटेलाइट है, it has to be hooked up with ground stations, जो uplink भी है और downlink भी है. Then it becomes a part of the network. Network security, it becomes another part. One is embedded security, another is network security. How you ensure security? ठीक है, आप नॉलेज हासिल करते हैं. What are the common attacks जो इस दुनिया में चल रहे हैं? What are the possible vulnerabilities? Theoretical भी और observed भी. ठीक है, एक फ्रेमवर्क है माइटर फ्रेमवर्क, स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय नेस्ट, अमेरिकन है, जो यही चीज पब्लिश करती है, ठीक है, नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटी साइड पे या साइबर सिक्योरिटी साइड पे। दे कॉल इट माइटर अटैक फ्रेमवर्क, एडवर्सरी टैक्टिक, टेक्निक्स एंड कॉमन नॉलेज, जिसमें वो सब चीजें शेयर करती हैं। व्हाट आर द ऑब्जर्वेबल अटैक्स, दुनिया में इस वक्त लोग जो कर रहे हैं साइबर अटैक्स वो किस तरह का, उनके इंडिकेटर्स ऑफ कंप्रोमाइज कौन से हैं, कौन सी वल्नरेबिलिटीज एक्सप्लॉइट कर रही हैं, उस वल्नरेबिलिटीज के अगेंस्ट कौन सा थ्रेट फैक्टर वो लॉन्च कर रहे हैं, एंड व्हाट आर द मिटिगेशन measures which are available. That is mostly concerning networks and ICT infrastructure, जो आपका networking वाला part है. Another part is embedded security. इसमें MITRE again has come up with a framework. They call it EMB, stand for Embedded 3D framework. Again ये यही काम कर रहा है. आपके जो अटैक सरफेस है, अटैक सरफेस इज एनीथिंग दैट कुड बी वल्नरेबल टू साइबर अटैक. जो अटैक सरफेस है वो डिफाइन करता है, जैसे ऑलरेडी आई हैव टोल्ड यू, दैट इज सॉफ्टवेयर, एप्लीकेशंस, नेटवर्किंग एंड हार्डवेयर. इनके ऊपर क्या क्या वल्नरेबिलिटीज हैं, व्हाट आर द नोन वल्नरेबिलिटीज और व्हाट आर द थ्रेट इंडिकेटर्स, एंड इनकी मिटिगेशन मेजर्स क्या है, इवन उसका लेवल क्या है, व्हाट कुड बी कंप्रोमाइज. So this is how it works. To mitigate an attack, you have to know how the attack vectors work. And once you read about it, इसमें बहुत सी चीजें हैं, state actors हैं, non-state actors हैं. There is a very common word, hacktivists, hackers, APTs, advanced persistent threats, allegedly sponsored by the states, but not owned by anyone. Generally, this is what we talk about cyber security related to space and embedded systems.
Sir, technology is evolving at a rapid rate, and Air Commodore Razar's experience in the Chinese industry is remarkable. अब चाइना से आगे तो कोई नहीं जा रहा फिलहाल in the advancements and the cyber attacks in the cyber industry or any other for that perspective. Sir, what do you see about the Chinese industry inside the aerospace model? Like, how does the industry work, and how can we catch up to that?
Good question, Sean. Let me share my experience of China. I spent few years of my life in China aerospace industry. There is Chengdu Aircraft Design Institute. And Air Jawad has very wisely covered the cyber side and the space satellite. And I will cover the industrial side of China. आप लोगों के लिए इसलिए ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि वो आर फ्रॉम द स्टार्टअप्स. आप लोग अपने कोई प्रोडक्ट अगर यूज करें तो चाइनीज कैसे एक प्रोडक्ट को लॉन्च करते हैं ये देख लेते हैं. उनका भी एक नाइकैट है, कैश स्टार कहते हैं उसको. चाइनीज की जो स्ट्रेटेजी है वो 3 स्टेजेस पे. फर्स्ट, अब तो वो इससे गुजर गए स्टेजेस से, मैं आपको थोड़ा हिस्टोरिकली बता रहा हूँ. उनका पहली स्टेज होती थी रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग, डिक्टो कॉपी. हम लोग उसको बहुत बुरा समझते हैं, हालांकि रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग इज अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टास्क. It is very difficult to reverse engineering any product, any technical products. It's not an easy task. But this should be the step 1 in my opinion. Number 2, the product innovation. उसी product को जिसको उन्होंने reverse किया, whether it's an aircraft, whether it's a drone, whether even it's a INS, it's a radar, it's a mobile phone, anything, name anything that has been reverse engineered first. Then product innovation of that, they add some value to that product, some feature to that product, and then that product becomes their own brand. And at the third stage they go for the new design. और न्यू डिजाइन वाली स्टेज पे चाइना पहुंच चुका है. आज से 40 साल पहले वो रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग स्टेज पे था, फिर प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन स्टेज पे आया. टुडे चाइना इज एट द स्टेज ऑफ न्यू डिजाइन. अब उनके अपने डिजाइन से, अब Huawei है, Xiaomi है, सैटेलाइट अपनी है. अब दे आर नो मोर डूइंग द रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग. अब वो स्टेज से गुजर गए. हम लोग अभी कहाँ पर हैं? अभी हम न्यू डिजाइन की स्टेज पे भी नहीं है, क्योंकि हम बाईपास कर गए पहली 2 स्टेजेस को. हम एकदम न्यू डिजाइन पे जाना चाहते हैं. अमेरिका को भी 100 साल लगेंगे. दे आर हैविंग देयर ओन न्यू डिजाइंस. इसके लिए बहुत ह्यूज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर R&D सेंटर्स चाहिए होते हैं. वो उस तरह से हमारे यहाँ सब अनफॉर्चुनेटली नहीं है अवेलेबल. तो इसलिए मेरा पॉइंट यहाँ पे जो मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि अगर आपने अच्छी किसी प्रोडक्ट को अगर रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग भी कर लिया ना तो बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है एज ए स्टार्टअप. और उसमें थोड़ा सा आपने 1-2 फीचर्स ऐड करें एंड देन ट्राई टू मेक इट मैच्योर. अगर आप मुझे 1 मिनट दें तो मैं उनका मेड इन चाइना 2025 एक प्लान है, वो आप जरूर गूगल कीजिएगा. मेड इन चाइना 2025 10 इयर्स का प्लान है. 15 में लॉन्च हुआ था. उसका सेकंड पार्ट है 2035 और तीसरा पार्ट है 2049.
जिसमें उन्होंने 10 सेक्टर्स जो स्ट्रेटेजिक टेक्नोलॉजी सेक्टर है, वन ऑफ देम इज साइबर आल्सो, जिसमें उन्होंने ग्रिप करनी है स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द रॉ मटेरियल टिल द इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द रॉ मटेरियल टिल द एंड प्रोडक्ट एंड द इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी, जो कि उनका मेन इशू भी है विद यूएसए। इस सारे को उन्होंने ग्रिप करनी है बाय इन दीज 10 इंडस्ट्रीज। वन ऑफ देम इज एरोस्पेस इंडस्ट्री, शिपिंग इंडस्ट्री है, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स है, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स को कर भी हैं तकरीबन, शिप और बाकी बायो इंजीनियरिंग है और मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट्स है, बहुत कुछ है उसमें, हम इसको बोल। और 35 में उन्होंने वर्ल्ड लीडर बनना है 10 टेक्नोलॉजीज का, और 49 में ग्लोबल लीडरशिप विद नो कंपेटिटर। ये बहुत खूबसूरत प्लान है, आप लोग पढ़िएगा एज ए स्टार्टअप, आपको मालूम होना चाहिए उसके बारे में। थैंक यू।
Sir, AI or ML एक buzzword बन चुका है, but we cannot undermine its improvement in the cyber security space. Sir, how can we safeguard between the AI and ML systems used in the satellites and space systems currently?
AI can be controlled by the AI. Very simple answer. And I just want to mention one thing, that AI will always remain artificial. The real thing behind that will be the original intelligence. And human beings, all these boys and girls who are sitting here, they are equipped with the best intelligence. So AI is a buzzword. AI is, yes, it is very important, and it has been playing a great role in nearly every field. You cannot deny any field, either it is the management or the medical or the engineering or the space, whatever it is, AI, now I think that AI is needed over there. It's not a buzzword now, it's not the new technology, it is the needed technology, and everyone should be aware of that. Normally it is said that, I have also seen in your questions that maybe this is the people, that AI will take the position of these human beings. No, it's not like that. Basically, the next generation or the next time, it will be a time when the people with the knowledge of AI will remain there, and the people who don't have the knowledge of the AI, they will be eliminated. So the difference was the people with the knowledge of AI. And AI, everything in the AI is generated on the human knowledge and the human intelligence. So never ever think that human intelligence or human knowledge will be taken by the artificial intelligence. Because whatever we are doing in the artificial intelligence, that is taken by the knowledge produced by the human beings. Or that the systems are trained on the basis of the experience that it has taken. So all the experiences were given by us, so it is forecasting. Again, artificial intelligence will forecast, but it will not forecast what your mind can forecast. Because the खुदा ताला की जो सबसे बड़ी नेमत है, जो अशरफुल मखलूकात को बख्शी गई है और जिसकी वजह से इंसान मुमताज है, that is his intellect. ये वो अक्ल है जिसकी बिना पर आपका हिसाब है, जजा है, सजा है, और यही वो है जिसकी वजह से इंसान इस कायनात में है, और ना सिर्फ वो खुद को पहचान रहा है बल्कि रब भी इंसान के थ्रू पहचाना जा रहा है. Apart from this, artificial intelligence will be there everywhere. Connecting it with the cyber security, artificial intelligence will be used, and it is used to attack. But at the same time, this can be used to protect yourself. Very simple, because you can design an attack based on the previous information available, but at the same time, the variation in some algorithm, you can stop that. So artificial intelligence will be everywhere, and everyone should learn that. And everyone should use that ability. Thank you.
Sir Jawad, so can you please shed some light on the measures that can be taken against to prevent such attacks?
Sure. Cyber security, what we're talking about, what comes to your mind with cyber threat or cyber attack? Cyber attack, ज़हन में आता है, क्या चीज़ ज़हन में आती है?
Anyone?
तो मेरे से मुझे नहीं आता कि मेरी स्क्रीन पे ब्लैंक स्क्रीन वाला स्टार्ट हो गई है और सब कुछ क्रैश कर गया.
Blue screen of death, or what could be a cyber attack? सर ने कवर किया. फ्रीली बोले. अब बैक पैटर्न बस जस्ट एनी नेम जो ज़हन में आता है. थेफ्ट, डाटा थेफ्ट. बोलते कंट्रोल कर लें, हाईजैक कर लें, एनीथिंग. रैंसमवेयर, डाटा थेफ्ट, denial of service. तो साइबर थ्रेट कुड बी एनीथिंग. डाटा चोरी कर सकते हैं, पर्सनेट कर सकते हैं आपको, आपके बैंकिंग ट्रांजैक्शन में घुस जाएं, ठीक है, आपको पर्सनेट करके आपकी जिसे कहते हैं सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट हैक कर लें, ठीक है, उसको यूज करना चाहते हैं. देयर आर डिफरेंट मेथड. हाउ एआई कम्स इनटू इट. अभी हमने पहले बात की थी माइटर अटैक फ्रेमवर्क की और EMV 3D फ्रेमवर्क की. वो आपको थ्रेट इन्फॉर्म डिफेंस देता है कि दीज आर द इंडिकेटर्स ऑफ कॉम्प्रोमाइज, ठीक है, दीज आर द थ्रेट एक्टर्स जो काम कर रहे हैं. ठीक, इसका मतलब है अगर आपके पास एक मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम है उसमें आप वो सारी चीजें डाल दें तो अटैक कैसे होगा. नाउ यू नीड समथिंग नॉवल. Zero day attacks, zero day vulnerabilities, नाम आपने सुना होगा. Now you have to do something which people do not know. पहले से भी निकाल सकते हैं, खुद भी रिसर्च कर सकते हैं. Another, आपने नेटवर्क के अंदर एक मैलवेयर लॉन्च किया, ठीक, नाउ इट नीड्स टू प्रोपेगेट. जहां वो किसी फिल्टर पे पकड़ा जाएगा, ठीक है, तो देन जो उसका अटैक का पर्पस था दैट गोस, वो खत्म हो गया. ठीक है, व्हाट इट कैन डू, एआई को यूज करेगा, देखेगा कि ट्रैफिक मैनेज कैसे हो रही है, विंडोज कैसे हैं, इट वुड लर्न. ठीक है, नाउ इट कैन हिट द, वो उस जगह हिट करेगा जो आपके डिजायरेबल है, डिफेंसेस को एवेड कर लेगा. ये हो गया अटैक की साइड पे. डिफेंस की साइड पे कैसे आएगा, आपने माइटर फ्रेमवर्क के हिसाब से जो आपके नॉन डिफेंसेस थे वो आपने लगाए हुए हैं. ठीक है, नाउ अ नोवेल अटैक कम्स जो आपके इंडिकेटर ऑफ कंप्रोमाइज में नहीं है. ठीक है, व्हाट एआई कैन डू, एआई कैन गिव यू एनोमली डिटेक्शन. जो बिहेवियर मॉडल है वो पैटर्न देखता है कि आपकी नॉर्मल ट्रैफिक क्या है. मैं सर रजा से डेली 10 मैसेज एक्सचेंज करता हूं, सर मुझे सिर्फ एक रिप्लाई वापस करते हैं. मैं और सर नंजम आपस में 5 मैसेज एक्सचेंज करते हैं. अचानक क्या होता है कि एक दिन मेरे पीसी से सर नजम को 2-3 मैसेजेस जाते हैं और उसके बाद जीबीज का डाटा सर नजम के पीसी से मेरे पास आना शुरू हो जाता है. आपने कहीं डिफाइन नहीं किया हुआ कि ऐसा कोई रूल डिफाइन नहीं किया हुआ कि ये नहीं होना चाहिए, बट दिस इज अगेंस्ट द पैटर्न, दिस इज अगेंस्ट द बिहेवियर. इसका मतलब है देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग. ये आपको एआई बता सकता है. ठीक है, तो जो आपका एआई वाला मॉडल है वो बेसिकली आपको अननोन में हेल्प करेगा साइबर सिक्योरिटी में. इट इज अ बिग फील्ड बट अगेन इट इज अ बज़वर्ड. इंप्लीमेंटेशन में बहुत से कैवेट्स अभी भी हैं, बट थ्योरेटिकली इट इज देयर एंड इट विल बी एप्लीकेबल फ्यूचर. जो आपके अननोन अटैक्स हैं जो जीरो डे के अगेंस्ट हैं वो उसमें यही हेल्पफुल होगी और अभी लोग एक्चुअली मार्केट में इसको सेल भी कर रहे हैं.
So for the next question, so I have seen there's a need of constant innovation in the aerospace industry, and so is the cyber attacks growing. Cyber security threats are increasing, and so are the mitigation strategies. So how can we digitize our aerospace industry to match up with the rest of the world? Like with the SpaceX, now we need to move our pace 10 folds ahead. So how can we move and digitize our aerospace industry in Pakistan?
We have to digitize our aerospace industry. In fact, we have to digitize our every industry, not only the aerospace industry. And what is the digitization? We have to incorporate the emerging technologies into the existing legacy industrial setups. I give you the same example again. In Made in China 2025, they have digitized their 10 sectors. How? For the AI or for the cyber, they have established the new systems, new factories, and they have digitized their old factories by incorporating AI, IoT, digital twin, 3D, all these emerging technologies into the existing systems. For example, there is a technology known as 3D manufacturing, advanced manufacturing. In aerospace industry, it's very common nowadays. Even the GE is manufacturing engine parts also from 3D, which is a cost-effective solution. Less number of parts if you want to make, then you can make from the 3D. Indeed, you don't need our dies and molds to make those parts. We have to adopt such technologies to be economical, to compete in the international market from the quality as well as the quantity point of view. Another technology is the digital twins. that is generally used for the training purposes. It's a cost-effective training through the digital twins by creating a virtual model of that aircraft or engine or the satellite or space shuttle, whatever, for making the training effective. That is a cheaper training, more effective one. Similarly, IoT is very common around the world. I have seen in China, they are all integrated, connected machines, connected supply chain systems. So unless we will not digitize our industry, we will lag behind. A very crude example आपको देता हूँ, not of aerospace but for the better understanding जो मैंने last seminar last week में एक साहब ने दी, कि in 70s we were making the sports goods. We were the leaders in the sports industry in the world, making the hockey sticks the best in the world, the bats best in the world, the football. Nowadays we are only making the football, because we are not following the international techniques how to make those pool equipments or the products. Now we are no more the leaders in the bat or the hockey and everything. तो बात ये है कि जब तक हम innovative नहीं लाएंगे, innovations नहीं लाएंगे अपनी industry में, will lag behind and subsequently obsolete.
So what are the emerging technologies in the space systems? Cyber security एक तो साइड पे है, but what are the emerging technologies in space systems and aerospace field के जिसमें हम लोगों को कैचअप करने की जरूरत है? जिस तरह के बाद आ गई कि autonomous robots और ethical hacking practices है. So what we need to get up to ताकि हम इस level पे par up with the rest of the world?
ये एक स्लाइड थी जी, मैं इसको कवर करता हूँ. एक स्लाइड थी यहाँ पे मैंने 9 इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज आपको देंगे इफ यू रिकॉल. बाय द वे प्रेजेंटेशन यहीं पर है, आप लोग बाद में लीजिएगा, उसको पढ़िएगा, नीचे रेफरेंसेस भी हैं सो दैट यू कैन गो फॉर द डिटेल्स ऑफ दोस फ्रॉम वेयर दोस हैज बीन साइटेड. 9 इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज में सबसे पहले एआई, देन 3D मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग, साइबर सिक्योरिटी, मैन अनमैन मशीन, बिग डाटा एनालिटिक्स, हाइपरसोनिक्स, स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजीज, ये हैं जिन पर हमें काम करने की जरूरत है, बिकॉज दीज आर द टेक्नोलॉजीज विच आर डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड टू द एरोस्पेस इंडस्ट्री और एनी टेक्नोलॉजिकल इंडस्ट्री, वेदर इट्स अ शिपिंग इंडस्ट्री और व्हाट एवर बी. और इन एरियाज में ज्यादा स्टार्टअप्स की जरूरत है. मतलब आपको नेक्स्ट कोहोर्ट्स जो भी होगा, मेरी रिक्वेस्ट होगी जो भी मैनेजमेंट है NICAT की, कि इन एरियाज में स्टार्टअप्स को थोड़ी सी प्रायोरिटी दें ताकि इसमें अवेयरनेस भी आए लोगों की.
I just want to add one thing. As I have mentioned, the 9 areas of the emerging technology, you see that at this moment there is no one independent technology. There is no one independent domain. There is no one independent knowledge domain. This is the time when there is an interdisciplinary approach. I have seen many startups, many groups, they are people from the same area. So if you are developing your startup or a company, my suggestion is that you should have the people from the each domain. Because you need a person from the hardware side, the mechanical side, maybe you need some person from the software side, you also need someone from the marketing or the management side. And also you need someone who is good in presenting your things. So a good team, even a product, at this moment there is not a single product that is without CS. You cannot find a single product or service that is without the CS. So CS is needed. अच्छा यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा मसला है. हमने इस वक्त बिल्कुल IPs क्रिएट करने लगे हैं, कंपनीज बनने लगी हैं, और हम चाइना को जो है वो उसके मुकाबले में आ जाएंगे. प्रॉब्लम बहुत नीचे पे है, ठीक है. उसको मैं जैसा वांट टू एड्रेस द एजुकेशन सिस्टम. What we are teaching at the school and the college level, that is very important. I'm just telling you the truth. Everyone at the school and college, they are working or they are learning only for the grades. ऐसा नहीं होता. Because if you want to work for your interest, you will lose the grade and you will lose the university. There is a problem. Then comes to the universities. Unfortunately, universities all over Pakistan, I am not mentioning any one university, I know all the universities, they are not producing the the exact human resource that is needed in the industry. All of you who are working in some industry, you will come to know that you have learned the things when you reach the industry. No. The university education system should be something like that once a student come out of the university, he can just produce those things. Or even in the third or the fourth year, they can do the things. Because in universities, again, the students, I know, I am also a teacher, they are more concerned with the GPAs. Because they think that GPA matters. Yes, GPA matters, but your skill also matters. And in any private or public industry, I forgot your name, Zen is here, he is running a software house. Maybe you can go over there and you say that I have a 4 GPA or 3.9 GPA or maybe 2.5 GPA or 2 GPA. Practically speaking, he is not concerned with that. He is concerned that he is working on this platform in the software house and he is developing this software. Do you know these skills? If you know these skills, fine. You can work with me because I am running a business. I have to pay my employees, I have to pay the charges. The second thing, he doesn't need 5 persons for the 5 different jobs. They need a person, one person who can code well, who can speak well, who can document well, who can present well, and who can sell well. And who can earn the more business. Try to understand that how the economy or the organizations are moving. Because organizations need the people who can do multiple things. And you all have to develop yourself as a multiple energy and multiple skills person. We don't, in any industry, we don't need a single person who is just doing one thing. No. We want in any industry a person who can do 5 things. On the other side, why 5 things? Because I can save the 5 human resources. I will offer you 100K or more, but that is 20 into 5. That is the trick. So, coming back to the point, every field, either product or a service, it is a multidisciplinary thing. You should have the multidisciplinary teams and you should have the multidisciplinary skills. Thank you.
So that was the exact same philosophy behind naming my company Stellar Alliance. That is the Stellar Alliance of interdisciplinary fields. Because we are using multiple fields into one thing to sum up the rocketry and space sciences for children to using CS, but we have rocketry and space science systems inside that field. So, Comrade Reza, could you please like to conclude? No, Jawad sir. Sorry sir. Could you like to conclude before we move to question and answers with the audience?
I think the main topic is cyber security. What we need to realize is digitization is the need of the hour. डिजिटाइजेशन आपको स्ट्रेंथ देती है, कनेक्टिविटी देती है, ठीक है, आपको इंफॉर्मेशन देती है, नॉलेज देती है, लेकिन इट कम्स एट अ कॉस्ट. जितना आप चीजों को डिजिटाइज ज्यादा करेंगे, इतना आपका अटैक सरफेस, उतना थ्रेट की वल्नरेबिलिटीज ज्यादा हो जाएंगी. इट मींस और साइबर थ्रेट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज, क्योंकि उसमें इशू ये है, इफ यू हैव द स्किल सेट विद अ वेरी लो कॉस्ट यू कैन स्टार्ट. इसलिए बहुत सी जगहों पर आपने देखा कि बहुत सी वल्नरेबिलिटीज, बहुत से थ्रेट्स या अटैक्स जो जनरेट हुए हैं वो बहुत जिसे कहते हैं ना स्मॉल स्टार्टअप से भी स्टार्ट हुए. अ पर्सन विद अ स्किल सेट, ठीक है, एंड विद अ पैशन, ठीक है, he can get into the system. He just needs to find out the vulnerabilities, chinks, ठीक है, जो पहले एक्सप्लोर नहीं हुए. इसका मतलब है कि जो इंडस्ट्री अपने सिस्टम्स बना रही है, ठीक है, डेवलप कर रही है, उन्होंने इस चीज फैक्टर को जरूर ध्यान में रखना है. एंड अनदर प्रॉब्लम विद साइबर सिक्योरिटी इज इट इज एन एवर इवॉल्विंग फील्ड. आज जो थ्रेट्स आपने मिटिगेट किए हैं, वो जो सिक्योरिटी फीचर्स इनबाइट किए हैं, tomorrow maybe they become obsolete or there is a new thing that comes in. इसका मतलब है कि आपके सिस्टम में जो कंटिन्यूअल इम्प्रूवमेंट है उसकी गुंजाइश होनी चाहिए। उस पर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन ये है कि आई डोंट नो हाउ इट हैपेंस इन सैटेलाइट, क्योंकि सैटेलाइट तो आपने एक दफा लॉन्च कर दिया तो कर दिया, फिर उसको आप सॉफ्टवेयर पैचेज या अपग्रेड से भिजवा सकते हैं, सिस्टम में मुझे चेंज नहीं कर सकते, हार्डवेयर भी चेंज नहीं कर सकते। तो दैट रिमेन्स अ चैलेंज स्पेशली रिलेटेड टू सैटेलाइट सिस्टम्स। लेकिन अदरवाइज जो बाकी सिस्टम्स हैं, यू नीड टू स्टे विद द टेक्नोलॉजी। जो भी चीज आप इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं, स्टैंडर्ड्स दुनिया में स्टैंडर्ड्स मौजूद हैं और उस पर कर भी रहे हैं। और इट वाज अ बिट सरप्राइजिंग फॉर मी, जितनी कम्युनिकेशन है दुनिया में, वायरलेस है, वाईफाई है, दे हैव स्टैंडर्ड्स, और उसमें जो इंक्रिप्शन है दैट इज मैंडेटरी। सरप्राइजिंगली इट इज नॉट मैंडेटरी फॉर कमर्शियल सैटेलाइट्स। मे बी इतने पुराने अरसे से काम कर रहे हैं, फिर आपकी इंक्रिप्शन के अपने ओवरहेड्स भी हैं, बट इंक्रिप्शन इज नॉट मैंडेटरी फॉर सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन एज ऑफ नाउ व्हाट आई हैव लर्नड। मतलब है कि उसके और डिफरेंट चैलेंजेस हैं दैट कुड बी मिटिगेटेड। बट इज साइबर, it is going to increase after digitization increase होगी। बहुत से इंडस्ट्रीज which are outside digitization they will get involved, वो भी उस digitization प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर आ जाएंगे। इट मीन्स जो आपका थ्रेट सिनेरियो है वो भी बढ़ता जाएगा। एंड वी नीड टू इवॉल्व एंड वी नीड टू बी इनोवेटिव। जो भी आपके जहन में आइडियाज हैं उसमें एक फैक्टर आपका साइबर सिक्योरिटी का जरूर होना चाहिए। इफ योर सिस्टम गेट्स कंप्रोमाइज, जो सबसे बड़ी लॉस होती है दैट इज रेप्यूट। साइबर अटैक से फाइनेंशियली आपको इतना डैमेज नहीं करता जितना रेपुटेशन को करता है। इसीलिए गूगल और ये बाकी जो कंपनीज हैं, एथिकल हैकर्स की आप बात करें, दे हैव देयर ओन टीम्स व्हिच आर कंटिन्यूअसली वर्किंग ट्राइंग टू फाइंड एक्सप्लॉइट्स। और उस पे वो बाउंटी हंटर वाला भी कॉन्सेप्ट है। They offer bounties to any person. I can be working in Pakistan, I can come up, I found this exploit, and they give you bounty just to make sure that their system is resilient, ठीक है, और उसकी reputation loss ना हो।
About this space systems and cyber security, in 2024 this year, ISO has published one reference, or you can say the one rules. ISO is the International Standard Organization. For the very first time, they have published the rules related with the cyber security and the space systems. So if you people are working in that, you should see that. And whatever I was watching today, it was actually I am supervising one research thesis at Air University. And that is linked with this topic, cyber security in the space system. So if you are there, you are working in that, you should work on that. And sir, I would suggest that at NICAT or CAS, we should work on this thing, because now the standard has come out, and this is the very first time they have published this thing. And things that you mentioned about yes, at the hardware level we cannot do anything, but on the software side, because every satellite is sending its signals or information on some specified frequency, and that is, we can control that. I just want to share with you one very good example of the cyber security or the cyber attack is that with Earth observation satellites, normally we get the data. Right, it is the raw data, then from that data we get the information. A very good technique to attack, I am just giving you the attack, just give a small error in this data. Everything will be jeopardized. You don't have to do anything else. In data, that data is also geotagged, means it has some coordinates. Just change the coordinates. A very beautiful way of attacking is that you should not know that the attack has happened. Shami said कि screen blank होगी, पता लग गया. He said that your mouse is controlled by someone, पता लग गया. मजे की बात ये कि ऐसा अटैक होना चाहिए कि पता भी ना लगे. There are multiple movies. आजकल बहुत सारी हैं, इवन बॉलीवुड की भी हैं, हॉलीवुड की भी हैं, बहुत सारी सीरीज हैं. डू सी दोस मूवीज, देखो कि अटैक. द बेस्ट थिंग इज वी शुड नो दैट व्हाट आर द वेज ऑफ अटैक. as sir mentioned, if you know these are the ways to attack, you can handle that. And the real thing is to knowing that how to attack. आपको पता है कि किसी भी एक बैंक बात अजीब सी, अभी इस्लामाबाद में 2-3 डकैतियां हुई. This time they used a very different approach. This time they didn't enter the bank. बैंक का तो मुझे पता है ना कि ऐसा सिक्योरिटी. This time they didn't enter the bank, but they did something. And all the people who are into these evil things, they always come up with the new thing. And that new thing is knowing the new thing is important. For example, every one of us, we are using the Google Maps. What I can do, I can just enter into the system and give you the wrong direction. You will be following the Google map, but you will not reach where you intended. A very small cyber security thing. Everything has been done, and you don't even know that. And this is happening. Whenever we talk about the drones and drone attacks or drone detection, this is the technique. This spoofing and jamming, these are the very old things. And it is something like this. So, my idea is to think about the new forms of attacks. Because if you think about the new forms of the attacks, you can stop that. क्योंकि जिसने एक दफा जो किया वो वैसा नहीं होता. मेरे घर पे 4 दफा डकैती हो चुकी है. चारों दफा they came up with a new plan. New good, new plan. So now, अल्लाह का हिफाजत फरमाए, but मुझे पता है कि कुछ 4 तरीके से भी आते हैं, 5वां तरीका होगा. So think of that.
So are there any questions for the panel?
हमजा उमर सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन सर जवाब के लिए. सर, जैसे आपने साइबर और एआई की बात की थी, तो हमारे पास कुछ नए मेलवेयर्स ऐसे आ रहे हैं जो एआई के थ्रू आपकी डिवाइस को इन्फिल्ट्रेट करते हैं, आपके नेटवर्क में वल्नरेबिलिटीज ढूंढ के आपके नेटवर्क में जाते हैं, फिर आपके पूरे नेटवर्क में हर डिवाइस को वो इन्फेक्ट कर देते हैं. तो सर, इस तरह के मेलवेयर से प्रोटेक्शन के हमारे पास क्या तरीके हैं? एज ए नॉर्मल यूजर हम कैसे प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं उससे?
अगर यूजर एंड की बात करें तो उसमें डिफरेंट जैसे कहते हैं एंड पॉइंट सिक्योरिटी आपके टूल्स हैं जिसको जल्दी आप एंटीवायरस का नाम भी देते हैं. ठीक है, तो दैट इज वन थिंग कि जो एज ए यूजर आपको जो एंड आपका टर्मिनल है या जो एंड डिवाइस है उसकी सिक्योरिटी आपको चाहिए. ठीक है, और उसके अगेंस्ट आप पहले तो ये कि जितने आप जो भी वायरस है ना, इट नीड्स सम वल्नरेबिलिटी, AI और नॉट. ठीक है, इट नीड्स सम वल्नरेबिलिटी जो सिस्टम के अंदर होगा. इसलिए जो आपका सिस्टम है उसको कहते हैं, जो आपके सॉफ्टवेयर है, जो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, जो एप्लीकेशन है, वो पैच होनी चाहिए, अपडेटेड होनी चाहिए, और उसमें जो एंड डिवाइस सिक्योरिटी है वो होना चाहिए. दिस इज फॉर द यूजर्स. आपका नेटवर्क है या सिस्टम है, उसके लिए देन देयर डिफरेंट डिवाइसेस. उसमें एंड जो डिफरेंट चीजें हैं, जिसमें सीन है, जो सिक्योरिटी इंसिडेंट इवेंट मैनेजमेंट है, जो भी इवेंट है, जो भी कुछ चीज नई आएगी, ठीक है, उसमें कुछ ना कुछ एक्टिविटी करनी है. ठीक है, उसके अगेंस्ट लॉग्स जनरेट होती हैं. देन देयर इज SOAR. ठीक है ना, सिक्योरिटी और ऑर्केस्ट्रेशन एंड ऑटोमेटेड रिस्पॉन्स. ठीक है, और इसके अलावा एंड पॉइंट डिटेक्शन एंड रिस्पॉन्स. लेकिन ये सिस्टम लेवल की चीजें हैं. यूजर के लिए सिस्टम पैच होना चाहिए, जो लेटेस्ट पैच सिक्योरिटी आपके पास आते रहते हैं पैचेस, और आपके पास कोई ना कोई सॉफ्टवेयर होना चाहिए जो एंड डिवाइस प्रोटेक्शन सॉर्ट ऑफ एंटीवायरस.
Assalamualaikum sir, my name is Josefa and I am avionics engineer at IST. I would love to know how avionics system is playing a key role in this all things cybersecurity, and how we can strengthen all these things, and what are the latest technologies which world is working in avionics systems. Sir Jawad or Sir Raza please.
सबसे पहले तो ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्लियर होनी चाहिए एवियोनिक्स सिस्टम है क्या. Avionics system is comprising of all those systems which are installed on that craft, whether it's a spacecraft or the aircraft, for the communication, for the navigation, for the guidance, and for even controlling. अब इसके अंदर radars, IMS, GPSs, MFDs, FEDEC, delegation engine running, सारा systems आ जाते हैं. Now think of it, कि any one of the systems is cyber attacked, any one of this, even it's a flight controls, for example. और हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं, मैं जो डॉक्टर साहब ने बात की कि ड्रोन का साइबर अटैक हो जाता है, ड्रोन के इट्स फ्लाइट कंट्रोल सिस्टम हैज बीन हैक्ड. So what the damage it can do? For example, the cyber attack, it has changed the GPS, what he said also, direction, maybe there's some sign plus to minus or anything, and it is now acting against you. So it is actually all the avionics which is controlling that craft. Other than avionics, it's aerospace systems which are mainly hardware or mechanical systems, engine and the airframe and the other part is weapons. So avionics is actually the main controlling body, and in the avionics I would grade that if the flight control system, which is also one part of the avionics system, if that has been hacked, that is very, very dangerous. An example of in the briefing also I told you the Stealth, a Netflix movie Stealth, in which an unmanned drone has been attacked, then it has gone against the humans and start killing the humans. Because it has been attacked and now it is under the control of the person who is doing the cyber attack. Here one thing I would like to mention, the problem is, Dr. Najam also highlighted that the attacker is not known here. So there is an ethical issue also and the legal issue also. As per the international humanitarian law or the law of wars, attacker will be known so that the legal action can be taken against that attacker. But in case of the cyber attack, the attacker is not known. Maybe the attacker is Russian, approaching you from the Czechoslovakia, attack is coming in Pakistan, and you don't know where the attack is coming, to whom to blame. So there is one particular issue, ethical issue in the cyber attack is you cannot have attribution to of the responsibility. You cannot the legal action against the attacker. So regarding your question, avionics system can be I think the most vulnerable system for the cyber attack. Am I right, Jawad?
So please, sir. I just want to add one more thing again. Although Sir Raza has mentioned it, but I just want to tell you that we, the developing countries, what we are doing, we are buying or purchasing or procuring everything that is a hardware. Right? At this moment, once the cyber attack or the cyber security comes into our mind, we talk about the software side. Sir Raza mentioned that he also gave an example of the pager event last month. This is very crucial, this is very critical, and this is very important. We are procuring everything from outside, that is in the form of the hardware, and hardware, as Sir Jawad said, there are embedded systems. So embedded systems, they have the software or the operating system. So if we are buying anything from outside and that has something in it, and that can happen at any time, that is the biggest threat. Because maybe we can control the software side. What about the hardware? And how much time we need to develop all these things? So always keep in mind, I learned this thing from head of the Department of Air University in one lecture, when he transferred over all knowledge base from the software side to the hardware side. And that is very critical, because I'm using this cell phone. This is, yes, it is iPhone, fine, but I don't know anything about it. What is the hardware over there and what they have done with it. I can control the software, maybe, but I cannot control the hardware. So that is the biggest challenge. Sir.
एवियोनिक्स सिस्टम पहले जैसे हमने जिक्र किया था, जल्दी एम्बेडेड होते हैं या सिंगल बोर्ड कंप्यूटर टाइप सिस्टम होते हैं, ठीक है, तो जितनी वो चीजें होंगी वो आपने यू नीड टू मेक श्योर हार्डवेयर चेंज, सॉफ्टवेयर चेंज, देयर इज आल्सो अ सॉफ्टवेयर चेंज, जो सॉफ्टवेयर इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं उसकी सप्लाई चेन भी प्रॉपर मैनेज होनी चाहिए। जैसे जो प्रिजेबल इंसिडेंट हुआ था, आईकॉम सेड कि आफ्टर 2014 दे हैव नॉट सप्लाइड दोस वॉकी टॉकीज टू बीडीज, बल्कि 2014 में दे हैड स्टॉप्ड द प्रोडक्शन and Hezbollah ended up buying those systems in 2014 or 2023. ठीक है, इसके बाद जो सॉफ्टवेयर सप्लाई चेन है, क्योंकि बहुत से सॉफ्टवेयर अब जो भी ब्लॉक कोड्स जो कोड ब्लॉक्स हैं वो उठा रहे हैं अपने सिस्टम में इंटीग्रेट कर रहे हैं। वो कोड ब्लॉक्स कहाँ से आए हैं? आपको सब रूटीन्स कॉल कर रहे हैं या कोई जो कोड कॉल कर रहे हैं अपने ओवरऑल सिस्टम, वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? उसकी इंटीग्रिटी क्या है? एक चीज। सेकेंड, जब आप सिस्टम्स चला रहे हैं, ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो उसमें आता है ट्रिपल ए, ऑथेंटिकेशन, एक्सेस कंट्रोल एंड ऑडिट या मॉनिटरिंग। ठीक है, तो आपने इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिस्टम में ठीक है, तो जो भी आरटी या टर्मिनल उसके ऊपर आ रहा है उसने बस कंट्रोलर के साथ या जो मेन आपका मिशन कंप्यूटर है उसके साथ, ठीक है, जो भी आपका सिस्टम को मॉनिटर कर रहा है उसके साथ ऑथेंटिकेट करना, ऑथेंटिकेट कर
मल्टी फैक्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन एंड डिफरेंट चीजें। देन देयर इज एक्सेस कंट्रोल। ठीक है, किस सिस्टम को क्या चीज चाहिए, ठीक है, और क्या उसको जरूरत है भी या नहीं, ठीक है, और लास्ट इज ऑडिट एंड मॉनिटरिंग। जो ट्रैफिक आपका फ्लो कर रहा है आपने मॉनिटर करना है और देखना है। जैसे MH370 जो मलेशियन एयरलाइंस था, ठीक है, वो आफ्टर 5-6 आवर्स भी डाटा आपका भिजवा रहा था, जो आरली वो अपडेट करता है अपने सिस्टम क्रिटिकल पैरामीटर्स को। उनसे दे इवेंचुअली न्यू के इट एंडेड अप इन साउथ इंडियन ओशन। इसी तरह की चीज है कि कोई चीज रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा है एवियोनिक सिस्टम की हम बात कर रहे हैं। सिस्टम मीन्स उसमें डिफरेंट सिस्टम्स होंगे, प्रॉपर स्यूट की बात कर रहे हैं। किसको कितनी एक्सेस मिलनी चाहिए, जिसमें कहते हैं प्रिंसिपल ऑफ लीस्ट प्रिविलेज, कि जितना उसको मिनिमम एक्सेस चाहिए सर्टेन थिंग उसी तरह होगा। एक्सेस कंट्रोल जैसे बहुत सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में होता है। अगर मेरे पास एक कार्ड है तो NICAT में अगर आऊँगा तो मे बी आई कैन गो टू कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम, आई कैन गो टू सम ऑफिसेज, आई कैन गो टू दिस ऑडिटोरियम, लेकिन जो उनकी लैब्स है उसमें मे बी मेरा जो कार्ड एक्सेस है वो नहीं चलेगा। आई ओनली नीड टू हैव एक्सेस जो बेयर मिनिमम लीस्ट प्रिविलेज। तो इस तरह जनरल साइबर सिक्योरिटी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड डिफरेंट फीचर्स।
क्योंकि बात इतनी अच्छी हो गई है, सो आई जस्ट वांट टू शेयर विद यू। दैट्स फाइन।
We all are fans of Elon Musk, yes, and the Trump is also the fan of Elon Musk. You heard about the Starlink, right? There are more than 3,500 satellites in space at this moment. And this Starlink will give a very new dimension to this cyber security. Because at this moment, at many places, there is a problem of the internet connectivity, right? But after the Starlink, there will be no problem. Everyone will have a very good access to the internet at least. And by the way, this internet access or the communication, that is one part of the Starlink. The Starlink will take over all the space systems and everything. So my just one point to share with you, to ponder about, that after the Starlink, the access will be changed, access will be improved, the connectivity will be improved, then the threats will be higher. So the remedies should be higher also. Thank you.
Just to add, जो भी आपका सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम या जो भी सिस्टम है
उसमें जो वीकेस्ट लिंक है दैट वुड ऑलवेज रिमेन द ह्यूमन। जो मैंने आपसे पूछा था ना, साइबर अटैक्स, बहुत से साइबर अटैक्स हैं, तो जरूरी नहीं है कि एयरलाइन सिस्टम बंद कर देना है, नेटवर्किंग, ठीक है, भी कह रहे थे।
साइबर अटैक जो है कि आपके सिस्टम में बैठा हुआ आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन भेजी जा रहा है आपको पता ही नहीं। और उसमें सबसे जो वीकेस्ट लिंक है दैट इज ऑलवेज द ह्यूमन। जिसमें आपने देखो एक जो वर्ड सॉरी सब नहीं आता, फिशिंग अटैक। फिशिंग क्या है? दे लेव यू डू समथिंग, ठीक है, आप क्लिक करके खुद ही मैलवेयर डाउनलोड करो और उसमें देन यही और ये जो कनेक्टिविटी जैसे सर ने कहा दैट जो आपके इंटरेस्ट हैं वही बीच में लेके आएगा। मुझे एक लिंक आ जाएगा कि 7 टाइम्स जो है ना, या जो बैलन डॉर है उसमें इस बार रोनाल्डो जो है ना उसके नंबर ज्यादा हैं, या इस बार जो वोटिंग हुई उसका रिजल्ट क्या, तो मे बी आई विल क्लिक विदाउट थिंकिंग। किसी का कोई और इंटरेस्ट है, गोल्फ में इंटरेस्ट है तो गोल्फ की कोई चीज आ जाएगी, क्रिकेट का इंटरेस्ट आ जाएगा। तो फिशिंग लिंक्स आपको खुद एंटाइज करते हैं, आप लिंक पे क्लिक करते हैं, एक लिंक भी खुल जाता है, लेकिन बैकग्राउंड में जनरली एम्प्लॉइज को आती है मिड ऑफ ईयर या जून के आसपास के 25% पे इंक्रीज हो रही है, सारे फॉर्म करते हैं कि तुम साथ कितनी बनेगी so ये this is what except from the embedded system and satellite, लेकिन जनरली जो साइबर सिक्योरिटी में ह्यूमन अंदर जिसे कहते हैं ना, जो अनअवेयर है इनसाइडर अनअवेयर, वो अनइंटेंशनली ऐसे काम करता है सिस्टम इनग्रेस आप देते हैं.
So this concludes our presentation and this discussion. सर अब हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम लोग वीकेस्ट लिंक ना बने और इसके सोल्यूशन ढूंढ सके. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. It's time for research showcase. I would like to request all the candidates, आप लोग आप अपने अपने booths पे आ जाएं. You have 5 minutes to settle in, then judges will follow you back. Time starts now. जल्दी से. Hurry up.
Decollage liftoff from a tropical rainforest to
स्पेस के मतलब लॉन्च से लेके एंटर इस स्टेट को एड्रेस.
सर बस अभी जैसे ही वो सेटल इन होते हैं ना, आई आस्क यू टू ज्वाइन इन, तो आपको कीवर्ड कोड्स जो फाइल्स मिली थी उसमें बैठे हैं. Dear candidates, our next topic is on James Webb Telescope. उसके ऊपर एक छोटी सी डॉक्यूमेंट्री अभी प्ले की जाएगी. मीनवाइल जितनी देर में हमारे जजेस इवैल्यूएट करेंगे उतनी देर में आप ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री देख सकते हैं. प्ले करते हैं प्लीज.
Decollage liftoff from a tropical rainforest to the edge of time itself. James Webb begins a voyage back to the birth of the universe.
Christmas Day 2021. A date that will go down in history, and not just because of the holiday. On that day, while many of us were eating, giving and receiving gifts, and spending time with our families, the good folks over at NASA, the ESA, and the CSA were hard at work, delivering their ultimate present to humanity. A groundbreaking next-generation telescope capable of looking backwards through time. The James Webb Telescope, NASA's most powerful observatory ever, which launched from the ESA spaceport in French Guiana, packed inside an Ariane 5 launch vehicle. From distant stars and planets to the dawn of time itself, this telescope will transform our view of the universe in every direction it is pointed. And with its launch, it beckons in an exciting new age of astronomy along with it, the age of Webb. The James Webb Telescope is the product of an international collaboration between NASA, the European Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency. It is the official successor to NASA's Grand Hubble Space Telescope, which fundamentally changed our understanding of the universe, but is now in the twilight years of its operation. The James Webb Telescope is larger, more efficient, and simply far superior in almost every respect. Each element intricately designed using innovative breakthrough technologies. Webb has been in development for more than 30 years, worked on by hundreds of thousands of scientists, from over 250 universities and institutions across 29 US states and in 14 other countries. Naturally, it is the most complex and expensive telescope ever constructed and ranks as one of the most ambitious yet risky space projects ever. It has cost around $10 billion to construct and was delayed by nearly 15 years. But now it is finally up in the sky. All its delays, plans, rebuilds and tests have been completed, the telescope blasted off from Earth successfully, and it is now currently preparing itself in space for the first part of its mission. The James Webb Telescope has three main objectives. The first is to look all the way back through the universe, towards the light of the very first stars. The second is to peer into extrasolar planetary systems, looking for worlds with atmospheres suitable for life like us. The third is to expand on and complement existing research into the evolutionary processes of the universe, how galaxies, stars and planetary systems come into being, as we tirelessly attempt to make sense of our cosmic origins. Discussions regarding a successor to the Hubble telescope began before the latter had even gotten off the ground. Scientists had a mind to build a high redshift infrared observatory capable of seeing the most distant galaxies in the late 80s. Some years later, in 1996, NASA commissioned the Next Generation Telescope project. But this would later be renamed as the James Webb Telescope, in honor of the late former NASA administrator during its successful Apollo program, James E. Webb. Moving into the 21st century, NASA contracted several private firms to research new technologies for their next great observatory. They investigated new materials to create a larger and stronger but lighter telescope. They looked for ways to keep that telescope cool, so as to minimize background interference. And they researched how to create a fragmented primary mirror, one with a significant overall aperture, but that could be divided up into segments and folded to fit inside a rocket. An overly optimistic launch date for the telescope was set at 2007, but as we now know, the telescope would undergo almost 15 years of delays. In the early 2000s, various factors culminated in the project vastly overrunning its schedules and budgets, and costs began to spiral. A thorough review and replan of the telescope's development in 2005 found costs to be close to $4.5 billion, significantly more than the $800 million originally earmarked in the project's primary contract. The telescope's development regime was completely redrawn, and multiple approved delays pushed the launch date forward to 2011 and 2013 respectively. By mid-2007, all of the new technologies required to achieve the observatory's technical objectives had been developed. After the telescope's design was finalized, it then had to undergo various intensive critical design reviews, each identifying their own issues and continuing to kick the can down the road. Before long, the launch date was pushed back until at least 2015, but as late as 2018. The telescope's construction and assembly was completed by late 2016, but the rigorous testing phase of the final product was still yet to come. In March 2018, NASA announced yet another long delay to the launch, as the telescope's sunshield unit had ripped during a practice deployment. A follow-up review then returned more than 340 unresolvable errors, which would result in a mission failure in space, and thus the launch date was again pushed back, this time to 2020 and then to 2021. By this time, the project had run up a total cost of more than $8.8 billion, with more inevitably required to maintain the observatory after its launch. But ultimately, NASA was backed with the resources it needed to see the project through. and in September of last year, the completed telescope was shipped from its testing facility in California to the Guianan Space Center in French Guiana, aka Europe's spaceport. It was packed into a launch configuration and attached to one of the ESA's Ariane 5 launch vehicles. Liftoff was delayed by a further few weeks, but the telescope did finally blast off from Earth on Christmas Day 2021, more than 3 decades after discussions surrounding its development had begun. Webb's extensive delays and costs, while painstaking for astronomers, were not in vain. Risk has been managed incredibly effectively when considering the number of earth-shattering paradigm shifts required for this telescope to be a success. The most iconic innovation is, of course, the telescope's fragmented, honeycomb-shaped primary mirror. Traditional telescopes like Hubble have one solid primary mirror of a certain size and mass, which is constrained by its ability to fit inside its rocket. James Webb's primary mirror, on the other hand, is made up of a brilliant array of 18 hexagonal fragments, working together as a single mirror. Shaped as such because of their six-fold symmetry and ability to fold together inside without leaving gaps. This allowed scientists to pack up the mirror into a launch configuration small enough to fit aboard the rocket without compromising the aperture. When unfolded and in their operational configuration, these fragments combine to make an enormous mirror, extending some 6.5 meters across. This gives it a comfortable 25 square meters of clear aperture. Compare that to Hubble's primary mirror, which has an aperture of just 4.5 square meters, and you can see how much difference this stands to make to our observations. Just as the primary mirror had to be compact enough for its launch, it also needed to be light enough. If we were to scale up Hubble's primary mirror to Webb's size, it would be far too heavy to be launched from Earth, never mind being too large to fit inside the rocket. Therefore, another paradigm shift implemented in the mirror's design came in the materials it is made from. Webb's mirror fragments are made from beryllium, a light but strong material 10 times less massive per unit area than Hubble's mirror. Each hexagonal segment weighs around 40 kilograms in total, and the overall mirror weighs less than its predecessors, despite being 6 times larger in aperture. These mirrors are also coated with a microscopically thin layer of gold, which aids their ability to reflect infrared light. That's what the James Webb Telescope is, an infrared observatory, which surveys in a broad range of wavelengths from the near-infrared to the far. When it comes to peering into the most remote corners of the universe, infrared light is our tool of choice. Most objects cooler than stars emit radiation most prominently in the infrared wavelengths, and in addition, this kind of light suffers less from the effects of extinction as it travels through intergalactic mediums. And, for the very distant objects, their light has been travelling through the ever-expanding universe for so long that those waves have been redshifted out of the visible spectrum and into the infrared spectrum, rendering them invisible to non-infrared telescopes. And so, an infrared observatory is what we need if we're going to try and image the farthest galaxies. However, maintaining such an infrared observatory is more challenging than for other kinds of telescopes, because infrared instruments need to operate at extraordinarily low temperatures if they are to survey a broad enough range. The Hubble telescope was fitted with an infrared sensor in 2009, and while it did reveal a host of previously undiscovered, extremely remote galaxies, it could only see a limited range of frequencies in the near-infrared. The longer wavelengths in the mid and far infrared, where the very oldest galaxies are thought to be hiding, are drowned out by the excess heat from Hubble's own optical instruments. Hubble's mirror operates at a temperature of around 23 degrees Celsius, and even at that level of heat, the infrared excess produced by the telescope blinds its infrared sensor to most of the wavelengths required for seeing the oldest galaxies. And thus, another big technological leap Webb had to make was being able to operate at exceptionally low, cryogenic temperatures. The telescope's optical unit is fitted with a number of infrared cameras and spectroscopic instruments, which all need to be kept below 50 Kelvin. In fact, the mid-infrared instrument, which measures waves between 5 micrometers and 27 micrometers, needs to stay even colder, at a temperature of just 5 Kelvin. And as such, it is fitted with a helium gas cryocooler. The remainder of the instruments in the optical unit will stay cool thanks to the telescope's tennis court-sized, diamond-shaped, multi-layered sun shield. This shield is responsible for blocking and reflecting excess heat from the sun and the earth, which would otherwise blind the infrared instruments. It consists of 5 ultra-fine layers of the polyamide Kapton E, each coated with aluminium, with added layers of silicon on the outermost sun-facing sides. On the Earth-facing surface of the sun shield, the temperature will be around 383 Kelvin, as it bears the full brunt of the sun's enduring gaze. But by the inside of the 5th layer, on the telescope-facing side, the temperature falls to as low as 36 Kelvin, a level sufficient for minimizing background light. This sun shield will need to face both the Earth and the Sun at all times, and it will achieve this by orbiting well beyond the Earth, whilst hitching a ride from its gravity. Webb is now positioned in a point of suspension more than 1 million miles away from the Earth, known as the second Lagrange point, or L2 for short. L2 is a zone of equilibrium between the Sun and the Earth's gravity, and anything in this zone is dragged by the Earth as it orbits the Sun. Stationing Webb here means that the sun shield can consistently block both the Sun and the Earth, while not falling out of sync with Earth's orbit. Webb will be maintained in this zone via a series of maneuvers, thrusts and course corrections as it drifts in a halo-shaped orbit in L2, keeping it tethered to the Earth like a dog on a leash. And so, in addition to allowing the telescope to remain cool, another advantage of this orbit is that the telescope never strays too far from Earth, and its measurements always beam back in a timely and predictable fashion. But despite this circumstellar orbit will mean that Webb will be unreachable for repairs after its launch, for all intents and purposes. We may be able to ship things to its general location, but the instrument-changing work performed by the hands of astronauts, which made Hubble such a long-lived success, is off the table here. Thus, there was a lot more riding on this telescope's launch proceeding perfectly, with everything having to go exactly according to plan, hence the rigorous testing regime and 15 years of delays.
समझदार माँ और दादी का इंतखाब लेस्ली सिरला।
Thankfully, these patient efforts seem to be paying off in real time, as both Webb's launch and its initial deployment phase have now completed, concluding an extremely nervy fortnight of terror for scientists and enthusiasts alike. Webb was folded up, sunshield and all, into a neat cube-shaped configuration. In space, the telescope had to unpack itself like a transformer, or a giant piece of origami to reach its operational configuration. Only half an hour after launch did the telescope separate from its vehicle, and less than 2 minutes later, communications had been established and the energy-generating solar panels had unfolded. Only a very specific velocity would allow the telescope's trajectory to guide it to its desired location in L2. And so, Webb was deliberately launched much slower than this required velocity, and would undergo 3 engine thrusts on its journey to speed up to the level needed. Reason being because it is easy to turn on the engines and speed up the telescope, but near impossible to slow it back down thereafter. Around 13 hours after launch, Webb underwent the first of these 3 course-correcting thrusts. Its engines switched on for more than an hour, giving the craft its first kick towards its destination. About 1 day after liftoff, the telescope's antennae had been deployed, including the high-rate antenna, which will transmit just under 30 gigabytes of data back to Earth twice a day. Just over 2.5 days in, shortly after the telescope had passed the Moon's orbit, the engines switched on for another 9 minutes during the second course-correcting thrust. This was followed by the unfolding of the pallets containing the sunshield segments, and 2.5 days later, this 70-foot sunshield began to deploy. It was one of the most complicated and nerve-wracking parts of the deployment. The super-thin layers had been folded no less than 12 times to fit inside the rocket, and took a full 5 days to be extended, separated and tensioned correctly. The sunshield deployment concluded on the 4th of January 2022, allowing the optical telescope unit to begin assembling, another mission-critical and complex process. The outlying beryllium hexagons of Webb's primary mirror unfolded and aligned themselves with the rest of the unit, taking around 4 days to complete. And so, on the 8th of January 2022, the most perilous part of Webb's journey was complete, and the 2 weeks of terror for the astronomical community was brought to a satisfying conclusion. There was still much more to do, however, to prepare the telescope for its mission. On the 24th of January, Webb completed its final engine thrust, lasting 5 minutes, giving it one last push towards its destination in L2, where it is now parked in its halo-shaped orbit. Due to the observatory becoming hot during its launch, it will need to cool down in the sunshield's shade for at least 3 months. During this time, extensive calibration and testing of the telescope's equipment will take place, as the instruments are tuned and ready to snap clear images. It is hoped that Webb can begin its first cycle of observations around 6 months after its launch, but it could take another month for those observations to be processed and made available to the public. So we're probably looking at the middle of this year before we can expect the first mind-blowing images. But once the telescope is fully operational, the nominal part of its mission will begin, and is expected to last at least 5 years. And there is hope that intuitive engineering and efficient fuel consumption could extend its life to around 10, or perhaps even longer. So, from mid-year this year, we can look forward to a new age of fascinating discoveries lasting at least a decade. We stand to finally uncover some of the universe's best-kept secrets, to understand our place in it all better than ever before. And all of that will begin by looking back to the beginning of time. As mentioned, Webb has 3 key objectives: to study the evolution of the universe, to search for signs of habitability, and most importantly of all, to shed light on the cosmic dawn, the moment when the very first star illuminated an otherwise dark and desolate universe. We believe that the universe was born from an event known as the Big Bang, and for just under 380,000 years, it was filled with a great luminous ocean of plasma. When this ocean disappeared, the universe entered its first dark age. For hundreds of millions of years, there were no light-emitting sources in space, and anything in the universe back then would have simply seen nothing. But within this blanket of darkness, newly formed hydrogen atoms created by the ocean were starting to interact with each other. Over time, various natural forces led to those atoms accumulating into giant clouds of gas. Colossal asymmetric mounds of scattered atoms capable of localized interactions. Pockets of more concentrated matter within these gaseous mediums were breaking off from the rest of the cloud and contracting, leading to smaller, denser concentrations. Inside these compact cloud fragments, the compression grew greater and greater, and the atoms within became more energized. Initially, tremendous amounts of heat were generated within the darkness. But then, something not seen for hundreds of millions of years followed. Light. Suddenly, one concentration of atoms became so massive and compressed that it turned into a spherical ball of plasma, which radiated high-energy photons from its surface. The first star was born, and light once again lit up the universe. Before long, large numbers of these earliest stars had ignited, giant spheres of pure, untapped hydrogen and helium plasma, producing enormous amounts of energy, but remaining intact due to the gravity of their sheer mass. The cosmic dawn had come, and the stelliferous era of the universe had commenced, sometime between 200 and 500 million years after the Big Bang. During this post-dark age, the universe was filled with these ancient stars, known as population 3 stars. They are believed to have been highly volatile and inefficient, leading short, turbulent lives which ended in violent supernovae. But during their energy-generating cycles, they are believed to have synthesized the universe's first elements heavier than hydrogen and helium, before releasing them and enriching the gas around them. Over time, large numbers of these stars found each other in space, the force of gravity binding them into clusters containing thousands, intersected by abundances of the gas left over from the Big Bang. This is how we believe the first galaxies formed. Large groups of stars began accumulating into small and torrid but productive dwarf irregular galaxies, which would in turn become cradles for new generations of more stable stars. We've never seen a population 3 star. No telescope we have launched to date has come close to the sensitivity or range required to see these old beasts in all their glory. But Webb's unparalleled large mirror, coupled with its extensive range of infrared coverage, may be able to reveal these Genesis stars and galaxies to us for the very first time. Because light's speed is limited to about 300,000 kilometers per second, the further away we look into space, the further back we are looking in time. Hence we use light year as a unit of measurement. But this particular age of the universe, around 13.5 billion years ago, is one we've struggled to shed light on so far. as the ancient light from this age has taken its vast cosmic journey towards Earth, the expansion of space has redshifted it out of the visible wavelengths and into the mid and far infrared. But as we covered earlier, conventional telescopes like Hubble have mirrors too small and operate at temperatures too high to allow them to see this particular range of frequencies. Webb, on the other hand, will operate at the low temperatures necessary to bring these galaxies out of the shadows, and its significantly larger mirror will allow us to peer much more deeply into these infant galaxies than ever before. With all this scientific knowledge up for grabs, it's easy to see why studying the cosmic dawn is the primary mission of Webb. But it will also look for things much closer to home. Webb's giant primary mirror and infrared sensors will make it an excellent tool for studying the outer reaches of the solar system, a place shrouded in darkness in the visible wavelengths, but glowing in the infrared. The telescope will be used to peer into the icy reaches of the Kuiper Belt and Scattered Disk, two circumstellar bands of debris left over from the solar system's formation, which thus haven't changed much in the 4.5 billion years since. This makes them effective time capsules for studying the properties of protoplanetary material back then, which in turn will help us to better understand the mechanisms that gave rise to the solar system. Another one of Webb's principal objectives is to search for worlds beyond the solar system, around other stars in the Milky Way. Webb will expand upon the work performed by missions such as the Kepler spacecraft, an observatory which made use of the transit method to identify exoplanets. Transit observations can be made when an exoplanet passes in front of its parent star relative to the Earth, blocking out some of that star's light in the process. We can then measure this flicker in the star's light curve to reverse engineer some of the passing planet's properties. While it may sound like simply chasing shadows, it's actually one of the most reliable means we have of identifying exoplanets, contributing to the discovery of thousands throughout the 2010s. And Webb will take this a step further, able to zoom in on the starlight passing through the atmospheres of such transiting worlds to deduce their chemical properties. The goal is to identify signature molecules which may indicate habitability, like water vapor, in these atmospheres. It's unlikely that Webb will be able to confirm the existence of another living world, but if it uncovers scores of Earth-like worlds with habitable properties, then it will become even harder to argue that life is a phenomenon exclusive to this planet. Webb's final objective is to aid science's ongoing efforts to study the evolution of the cosmos. Its infrared eyes will give us a new perspective on stellar nurseries, the nebulous birthplaces of new generations of stars. We've all become accustomed to the beautiful images of opaque, reflective nebulae snapped by Hubble, but Webb's infrared cameras will be able to stare right through them, revealing much more about the inner workings of these stellar incubators. This will be vital for learning how heavier elements, such as carbon, oxygen and silicon, elements necessary for life, become incorporated into the birthing of new stars. Webb will also study the evolution of space on a larger scale. One of Hubble's greatest achievements was the world-famous deep field images, which show thousands of galaxies at every stage of the universe's life. Some 12 billion years of history in a single photo. Webb's unrivaled infrared coverage will help us to enhance the deep field images, rolling back the curtain of darkness to bring thousands more galaxies into view. From there, the rest of Webb's operational time will be divided up and allocated among projects pitched to the Space Telescope Science Institute. It may be used to solve currently unsolved anomalies in astronomy. For example, by looking into the KIC 846 system in order to find out what is causing its unique transit dimming. People have speculated everything from a dust cloud to an alien megastructure. Perhaps Webb will be the telescope to find the elusive Planet X, a hypothesized ninth planet in the outer solar system, lying far beyond the orbit of Neptune. The hunt for such a planet was catalyzed by observations of a strange gravitational influence acting on the Kuiper Belt. But the relentless search for this dim and distant hidden world has so far come up short. Perhaps Webb will be able to catch its outline as it transits in front of a star under observation. With all that in mind, we can be confident that this is the start of an exciting and unpredictable age in astronomy. Webb will revolutionize our understanding of the cosmos everywhere it looks. Once we get those first photographs later in the year, the floodgates will have opened. Every beautiful and bedazzling Hubble image destined to be blown out of the water by breathtaking new observations. There is so much to look forward to, both this year and in the long run. It's a pretty strange feeling, because often on this channel we talk about discoveries made decades ago. It can sometimes feel like we were born too late to uncover the same kind of mind-blowing discoveries that characterize 20th century astrophysics. But now that feeling is no more. This time that you're sitting in right here, right now, is a significant period in history. For hundreds of years, people will look back on Christmas Day 2021 as the start of the new age in astronomy. We live in an age of deep understanding about our universe. From asteroids within the solar system to galaxies at the edge of space, we've seen glimpses of the cosmos our ancestors would have found hard to believe. And a great many of these glimpses owe to one observatory in particular, a telescope which has, for more than 30 years, continuously transformed our understanding of cosmology, the magnificent Hubble Space Telescope. Hubble has provided us with some of our most iconic and breathtaking portraits of the universe, making more than 1.5 million observations over 3 decades of service. And in today's episode, we will use these observations as we relive some of the telescope's grandest achievements, from imaging the most beautiful nearby nebulae to revealing the secrets of a universe at large. These are some of Hubble's greatest discoveries. The Hubble telescope is a bus-sized satellite which launched into space aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1990. Rising high above Earth's atmosphere, it is able to study our universe in crystal clear resolution, unhampered by atmospheric disturbances and absorption which constrains the potential of ground-based telescopes. Hubble resides in a low Earth orbit and faces outwards towards space, studying the universe predominantly in the visible and ultraviolet wavelengths, but various upgrades over the years have broadened this capacity to the near-infrared. As mentioned, Hubble has taken more than 1.5 million observations of the cosmos for more than 12,000 scientific endeavors, its findings being cited in more than 20,000 peer-reviewed papers, some of them yielding the most important information we have about our universe. Hubble has seen generations of stars birthing and dying in spectacular supernovae. It has seen the ghostly emissions of the universe's earliest galaxies, grinding out the first stars at breakneck speed. And it has seen the universe expanding at what appears to be an accelerating rate, with seismic implications on its ultimate fate. As such, the Hubble telescope has single-handedly defined its own era in astrophysics, an era that now overlaps with that of its successor, the James Webb telescope. But with such a long, rich history of revolutionary research, it's easy to view Hubble's time in the sky as one long, unceasing success. However, this is far from the reality. In fact, the telescope has had to overcome a number of hurdles during its service, many of which arose in its early years of operation. Remember all those long, painstaking delays to the James Webb telescope, holding it back year after year? Well, the caution shown by scientists was not without reason, because even the slightest, tiniest fault in an optical instrument can fundamentally impair its ability to make observations. And this is exactly what happened with the Hubble telescope in its early years. A month after launching, Hubble switched on and became operational, and initially, test photographs of its first light did show an improvement on the images produced by ground-based observatories. However, within a year, NASA had announced that the initial images being received from the telescope were blurrier than expected, with stars cloaked by fuzzy halos of skewed light, making clear, precise detail difficult to resolve. An internal investigation traced the problem all the way back to the development of the telescope's spherical 2.4 meter primary mirror. Unbeknown to its engineers at the time, the mirror's curvature was marginally off, with a spherical aberration of about 2 microns. While this deviation equated to only about a 50th of the width of a human hair, the mirror was left unbalanced and improperly calibrated for the optical instruments using its light, particularly the wide-field planetary camera, intended to be Hubble's workhorse camera unit. With such fine margins impairing the observatory to such a degree, you can see why scientists were keen to take their time to make sure they got the James Webb telescope right. The Webb telescope's position in an orbital zone trailing the Earth makes it effectively impossible to reach the telescope for repairs now it has been deployed. However, the Hubble telescope's low Earth orbit did place it within reach of humanity, and thus NASA scrambled to assemble a servicing mission aimed at salvaging their flailing vision for a pioneering space-based observatory. In the meantime, however, despite the shortcomings of the optical instruments, Hubble remained an unrivaled tool for cataloguing and measuring the distances to the brightest extragalactic stars. Cepheid variable stars are volatile stars that pulsate radially on periodic timescales, causing them to vary in size and luminosity on a well-defined basis that can be used as a cosmic benchmark for constraining the distance. This was the same technique used by Mount Wilson astronomer Edwin Hubble, who used Cepheid variable stars to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the so-called Andromeda Nebula was actually an independent spiral galaxy lying at least 1 million light-years beyond the Milky Way. And in mid-1993, Hubble's namesake telescope used this method to precisely measure the distance of another nearby spiral galaxy, Messier 81. Previously, scientists couldn't agree on whether this galaxy was 4 million light-years away or 18 million, as no reliable method could yield precise results. But the Hubble telescope was able to identify Cepheid variable stars in M81, accurately measuring its distance to be somewhere in the region of 11 million light-years from Earth. And in doing so, scientists took a major step towards determining the age of the universe. In fact, it was Edwin Hubble himself who demonstrated that a linear relationship exists between a galaxy's distance and the speed at which it appears to be moving away from the Earth. This recession is due to the universe's expansion pushing galaxies apart, and thus, if we know how far a galaxy is from Earth precisely, we can compare that to how fast it appears to be receding to accurately constrain an estimate for the Hubble constant, which the telescope found to be around 73 kilometers per second per megaparsec. And finally, armed with their first precise estimate, scientists were able to extrapolate this expansion backwards to a point where they could go no further, deriving an estimate for the age of the universe as around 13.5 billion years. This placed a firm marker in the sand amid an ongoing debate over whether the universe was 10 or 20 billion years old. And this precise age of 13.8 billion years is a figure that has been rigorously reaffirmed by independent experiments ever since.
How to get the most of Grammarly free. It's Kayla on behalf of Grammarly to tell you all about the free version of the best communication assistant in the world. Millions have chosen to go beyond their default grammar checkers and use Grammarly. My cousin Izzy, a graphic designer, is one of them. Izzy loves how quick and reliable Grammarly is at providing feedback. Another reason Izzy signed up for Grammarly is its conciseness suggestions, something she wasn't getting from default grammar checkers. Grammarly notices wordiness and helps her rephrase this hard-to-read sentence with one click. Izzy also wants to feel like her tone is on point, so she uses Grammarly's tone detector to show how a reader may understand her writing. Here, Izzy's email is optimistic, friendly, and admiring. Izzy sends the email confident that it's mistake-free, concise, and on target. And what did it cost her? All of it. It was free. Download for free at Grammarly.com. Grammarly, one of the best AI-powered tools.
It's the Hostinger Blessed Friday sale. Web hosting now from the RS$4.99 a month. Get epic savings for a limited time only with a free domain, free email, and free extra months. Go live with a managed WordPress or Hostinger AI website builder. Safeguard your website with cutting-edge security tools and get expert support whenever you need it. Plus a 30-day money-back guarantee. Make your digital breakthrough with our biggest Blessed Friday sale ever. Go to hostinger.pk to claim your deal now. 3, 2, online.
As 1993 drew to a close, NASA finally embarked on their first servicing mission to Hubble, as astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour visited the telescope in orbit, to deliver and install replacement components. While not feasible to replace the flawed primary mirror itself, the shuttle crew were able to swap the internal optical instruments, with updated versions implementing their own corrective optics, the same way glasses would be used to correct the vision of a long-sighted person. In space, the shuttle crew had to gently open Hubble and remove its large internal instruments, with the subtlety and delicacy of handling a sleeping baby. They replaced the unfocused wide-field planetary camera with the updated WIF-PIC 2, adjusted and primed to work with Hubble's tricky mirror, able to observe in some 48 colours and filters, in wavelengths ranging from ultraviolets through to the near-infrared. They also installed the CoStar instrument, which further corrected the telescope's optics, bringing an entirely new level of detail into focus. In January 1994, NASA kicked off another groundbreaking year of Hubble-led advancements by announcing that the spherical aberration in the primary mirror had been rectified, accompanied by a comparison image showcasing the galaxy Messier 100. As you can see, the WIF-PIC 2 revealed a landslide of sophisticated, new intrinsic detail within the galaxy. And at last, Hubble was finally set to deliver on its promised glimpse of the clear, unfiltered universe. And with its equally enhanced capacity to take spectroscopic measurements, humanity set its sights on a new target: the heart of the giant elliptical galaxy, Messier 87. M87 is an enormous, ancient titan of a galaxy, lying around 50 million light-years from Earth at the heart of the Virgo cluster. It is one of the most substantive and studied galaxies outside of our local group, with its glittery golden halo of starlight enticing the eyes of astronomers since the 18th century. But what really got scientists intrigued in this object was not its starry halo, but rather a long, finger-like stream of matter appearing to stem from the object's bright core. The stream was first described in 1918 by Mount Hamilton astronomer Heber Curtis, who noted the stream of ejecta long before we realized that M87 was a separate galaxy. But the mystery deepened in the mid-20th century when newly emerging radio surveys found the stream to be radio loud. M87's jet is one of the most luminous extragalactic radio sources, sparking a debate over what could be occurring within the galaxy's nucleus to drive it. One outlandish explanation was that a supermassive black hole may be lurking at the heart of the galaxy. But back then, black holes were still a wildly theoretical and mathematical notion, with little practical application. But with its broadened, sensitive new array of spectroscopic instruments, Hubble closed the case in 1994, identifying multiple, overlapping lines of evidence for the monstrous black hole. At the heart of this elliptical galaxy, Hubble found evidence for a spiral structure in the spectral data, one which propagates at unfathomable speeds. On one side, matter seems to be moving towards the Earth, with its emissions blue-shifted as wave patterns are compressed. Whereas, on the other side, emissions appear red-shifted as the matter moves away from the Earth, elongating the wave patterns. Both sides at the same speed, but in opposite directions. And this is how we determined that the spiral object is actually an accretion disk of a supermassive black hole the size of the entire solar system, which Hubble estimated to be at least 3 billion times the mass of the Sun. Only the immense, unprecedented influence exerted by a gravitationally collapsed object can explain both the speed at which the disk rotates and the resulting jet it produces. As the disk propagates, the gas caught up within is heated to upwards of 10,000 Kelvin, instantly ionizing the matter as its electrons are ripped from their atomic nuclei. And as these stray atomic nuclei fall beneath the black hole's event horizon, gravitational potential energy is released, and the surviving charged subatomic particles are funneled onto the black hole's polar axes, before being blasted out into space at relativistic velocities. This jet is highly magnetized, which accelerates the charged relativistic particles as they zip off into space, glowing with radio-loud synchrotron radiation as they expand for thousands of light years. And thus, Hubble was able to pinpoint a supermassive black hole as the culprit for M87's peculiar jet and radio emissions, also affirming the follow-up notion that most large galaxies contain a similar supermassive black hole lurking within their cores. Rejuvenated, and with its potential finally being realized, Hubble's gaze was directed back towards the solar system, just in time to observe the epic climax of a comet shatter event around Jupiter. Comets are chunks of icy debris which traverse the solar system in highly eccentric elliptical orbits. Ordinarily they orbit the Sun, but they can become entrapped by the gravity of large planets like Jupiter. And this is exactly what happened to comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. Starting in 1992, Shoemaker-Levy 9 drew too close to the Godfather planet, where it began to disintegrate under Jupiter's immense, vice-like gravitational field. By 1994, the comet had broken into no less than 21 fragments, some of which were more than a kilometre in length. And in July, Hubble witnessed these chunks as they plunged into Jupiter's atmosphere, leaving large, visible impacts which revealed the secrets of the gas giant's chemistry. Over 6 days, each of the fragments struck the Godfather planet, travelling at speeds of around 60 kilometers per second on impact. They smashed into the Jovian gas, heating pockets to more than 30,000 Kelvin, causing eruptions which rose more than 3,000 kilometers above the cloud tops. These eruptions then settled into a series of striking, dark, bruise-like patches on the surface of Jupiter's atmosphere, which persisted for a number of weeks. And as these bruises gradually began to disperse in Jupiter's winds, their distinctive appearance made them ideal chemical tracers for mapping the paths of the Jovian weather fronts, allowing us to observe its atmosphere in a new light, providing fresh insights into its chemical composition. Shoemaker-Levy 9 was the first time that such an impact like this had been witnessed, let alone in such incredible detail. One of a number of firsts for the Hubble telescope that would continue into 1995. After producing surface maps of Saturn's cloud-covered moon of Titan, and then detecting water vapor in the atmosphere of Jupiter's moon Europa, Hubble turned its attention to the Eagle Nebula, specifically a dense, gaseous interior region of starbirth, nicknamed the Pillars of Creation. These long, trunk-like tubes line the cradles for new generations of stars, as young nuclear fires spring up out of the abundances of star-forming gas. And Hubble's view of this stellar synthesis in action sent ripples cascading throughout the world, seen to this day in all sorts of weird and wonderful modern settings, from t-shirts to printouts to phone backgrounds to wallpapers, as it captured the eyes of the entire world, bringing global attention to the plight of the Hubble telescope. But an even more impactful image was only just around the corner, as Hubble scientists finished up their analysis of one of its most ambitious targets to date, seemingly empty space. In the previous year, the then director of the Space Telescope Science Institute, Robert Williams, became intrigued by Hubble's newfound ability to gather light from the distant universe, after studying exposures taken with the upgraded WIFPIC 2 camera. With a range of galaxies visible at varying times in the universe's life, he suspected that another, longer exposure in a sufficiently dark portion of the sky may reveal even more galaxies, which could be used to create a cosmic zoo mosaic of space. Back then, Williams was responsible for allocating about 1/10 of Hubble's operational time, usually to high-ranking physicists looking to study transient phenomena, such as extragalactic supernovae. But after assembling a team, Williams spent the next year scouring the sky for a small, dark corner of space, with a view to using his discretionary time slots to capture unseen light from the distant universe. A pin-sized patch of sky in the constellation of Ursa Major was chosen, with no nearby stars or apparent backdrop galaxies, lying sufficiently far from the Milky Way's opaque, extinguishing galactic plane. And over 10 consecutive days in December 1995, the Hubble telescope made 342 observations of the region, collecting light in a range of wavelengths photon by photon. If nothing was found, it would have been an embarrassing waste of Hubble's already precious operational time. But in early 1996, the observations were assembled and released to the public, and the world saw the Hubble Deep Field. This through the keyhole mosaic of deep space is a journey to the edge of the visible universe, capturing a timeline of more than 3,000 galaxies at almost every evolutionary stage, dating back more than 10 billion years. Of all the millions of incredible, jaw-dropping Hubble images, if we had to pick one as being the most significant and most groundbreaking, it would probably be this one. More than anything else, the Hubble Deep Field showed us what the universe really looks like on its largest scales, with stars and galaxies at a wider range of depths and times than scientists ever expected. And what makes this image even harder to comprehend is that this tiny section of the sky is just one tile across a night sky expanse containing more than 10 million, each providing their own account of the universe's evolutionary history through the keyhole. In the following year, a follow-up deep field image was taken in a disparate section of the sky to ensure the original was a true representation of the cosmic scale, and the results of the Hubble Deep Field South were much the same. During this time, in February 1997, Hubble received its second servicing upgrade, as a 7-member crew aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery installed a set of new optical and spectroscopic instruments, including a new infrared camera. These enhancements broadened Hubble's capacity to take high-resolution images of the distant universe, whose emissions have been shifted most prominently into the infrared bands. And with the greatest range of cosmic distances now unlocked, scientists set about attempting to measure the universe's rate of expansion over time. As we mentioned, Hubble had some years earlier estimated the Hubble constant to be around 73 kilometers per second per megaparsec. But over the longest time scales, we actually expect this constant to have varied according to the size and density of the universe. At the time of the deep field images, scientists expected to find the Hubble constant decelerating, on the road to stopping altogether, as would be the expected behavior in a universe dominated by gravity. But instead, in 1998, two teams of scientists using the Hubble telescope to probe the farthest supernovae found evidence for the opposite. In the more recent half of its life, the universe's expansion appears to have accelerated in fact. And thus we were able to conclude that there must be something more than gravity out there, acting upon the cosmos and accelerating its growth. This revelation transformed cosmology, as Hubble had stumbled upon preliminary evidence for dark energy, a mysterious anti-gravity-like force stretching the universe apart like a rubber band, the likes of which now makes up an immutable part of the science we teach in textbooks.
Skip this video, my family suffers every second. They need support. I swear you can help them. We are stuck in a very hard situation. You can help them in a very simple way. Listen to me. I need 3,000 people to use this audio and press all the 4 buttons on the screen. And if you have anything, even single thing to give to us. If the details mentioned in bio,
As the 90s drew to a close, the sun set on an extraordinary decade of Hubble-led revelations which changed the world. However, just before the turn of the 2000s, Hubble had to be switched to safe mode, following a number of critical instrument failures, effectively putting the telescope on standby with its solar panels facing the sun. Only another servicing mission to Hubble could rectify these flaws, one which was already in planning as a general maintenance mission, but suddenly became a rescue mission. Servicing Mission 3 was split into 2 separate launches as a result, one to salvage the telescope and replace its critical instruments, and another at a later date to perform non-essential upgrades. The first leg of this initiative, SM3A, took place over 9 days in December 1999. Astronauts serviced Hubble's batteries and fitted it with 6 new, fresh gyroscopes, as well as a new, more efficient computer unit. These repairs restored Hubble to a functional state, bringing it out of safe mode and resuming its research. And with Part 2 of the servicing mission set for 2002, Hubble reopened its eye to usher in another decade it would come to define. Hubble spent the early years of the new millennium focusing its eye on extrasolar planets, worlds orbiting stars other than our Sun. Its first stop was to the Orion Nebula, to capture star systems like the Solar System in their infancy. In 2001, Hubble snapped the first direct visual evidence of Proplids, a protoplanetary disk of dust and gas surrounding a new star that has only just begun to shine. This dust is in the process of crystallizing and forming a sort of gravel, which would ordinarily be used to build up rocky planetary cores. However, The Orion Nebula is a star-birthing factory, brimming with blistering, ionizing stellar wind. And so, for new stars in the Orion Nebula, their proplyds will probably stop short of forming any significant planetary systems, as dust is irradiated and driven away. But in other, less hostile star systems like our solar system, this process is what enables the formation of exoplanets. From Earth-like water worlds to massive godfather gas giants. But in both cases, trying to image such a planet directly is a near impossible task for any telescope, like trying to image grains of sand on the horizon at night. However, there are a number of ways we can indirectly detect and observe exoplanets. The main one being by waiting for said planet to pass in front of its parent star relative to the Earth, causing a dimming in its emissions. Even if this dimming is only by 1 or 2%, our most sophisticated observatories can measure the flicker to reverse engineer the passing planet's properties. But Hubble's freshly sharpened instruments were able to take this a step further, collecting the starlight passing through a transiting exoplanet's atmosphere to deduce its chemical composition. Osiris is a large, Jupiter-like gas giant lying 150 light-years from Earth in the constellation of Pegasus. The planet lies very close to its parent star and thus transits frequently, allowing for regular observations from a number of vantage points. And in late 2001, scientists used this transit data to identify traces of sodium in Osiris's atmosphere. While the discovery itself was of little significance, it demonstrated that particularly sensitive observatories could be used to probe exoplanetary atmospheres, a practice that has since become central to NASA's exoplanet hunting initiatives, like the Kepler spacecraft. And in the years since, we've studied thousands of alien atmospheres, a search that is continued to this day by the James Webb Telescope. In the following year, the second phase of the third servicing mission, SM-3B, was carried out by Space Shuttle astronauts who installed a host of new instruments and capabilities into Hubble's mainframe. Among them was the Advanced Camera for Surveys, a new tri-camera instrument 10 times more efficient than the last of Hubble's original instruments it replaced. They also replaced the telescope's entire power control unit, in a kind of open-heart surgery for Hubble, requiring it to be completely switched off for the first time since its launch in 1990. But much like its predecessors, SM-3B was a roaring success, and though a final servicing mission would be needed to rectify all of the aging telescope's issues, Hubble was once again left more capable and versatile than at any point prior. And to celebrate, NASA snapped a host of beautiful new images utilizing its newest instruments. From awesome views of the inside of nebulae to shots of colliding galaxies millions of light-years from Earth. In 2003, a tragedy befell the world which upended NASA's Space Shuttle program, when the shuttle Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry to Earth's atmosphere, killing all 7 crew members on board. In the wake of the disaster, Hubble's final servicing mission was scrapped, followed soon after by George W. Bush's announcement that the shuttle program would be wound down to make way for the International Space Station. But even in light of its uncertain future, Hubble continued to bedazzle the world. In March 2004, Hubble scientists lightened the mood by releasing the ultra-deep field image. Another, even deeper exposure of the universe, creating a new cosmic timeline illustrated by more than 10,000 galaxies. Compiled from more than 800 exposures to a spot lying in the constellation of Fornax, the ultra-deep field image proved to be an earth-shattering successor to the original deep field, as our most complete, all-encapsulating view of the cosmos to that point. It brought galaxies into focus which existed 13 billion years ago, only 800 million years after the birth of the universe, many of which were among the farthest galaxies discovered at the time. But in the years that followed, Hubble's mechanical breakdown continued, notwithstanding its recent servicing mission. While Hubble was still able to carry out scientific research, it was clear that the telescope would once again need repair work in space to keep it at the forefront of human engineering, and thus NASA mulled over reinstating Servicing Mission 4. In the meantime, Hubble turned its attention back to our solar system, continuing its incredible chain of discoveries, this time a little closer to home. In 2005, Hubble imaged our solar system's 9th planet, as it was considered back then, Pluto. And in doing so, its observations revealed 2 new, previously undetected moons around the dwarf planet, some 5,000 times fainter than Pluto itself. These satellites, named Hydra and Nix, have similar dimensions of just over 50 kilometers. A pair of city-sized objects, each smaller than LA, spotted from more than 5 billion kilometers distant. In 2006, a report into the completeness of the ISS recommended more than a dozen additional assembly missions before the space shuttle could be retired. And thus, Hubble's 5th and final servicing mission was reinstated. But it would not take place until 2009, as a stream of new issues plaguing the telescope arose during planning. In 2008, shortly after completing its 100,000th orbit of Earth, Hubble re-entered safe mode following a failure in the observatory's data formatter, responsible for processing observational data for beaming back to the ground. Once again, the telescope closed its eye and basked in the light of the sun, as it halted its observations and waited for help. Servicing Mission 4 wouldn't reach the telescope until the following year, but this bumper upgrade to Hubble single-handedly rectified all of its most troubling issues. Over a number of days in May 2009, astronauts replaced Hubble's gyroscopes, batteries and its insulation, while repairing and installing new optical instruments. The WIFPIC 2, Hubble's resoundingly successful workhorse camera for 16 years, was finally retrieved and replaced by the WIFPIC 3. Made from parts recycled from the original, unfocused wide-field planetary camera. They also installed the Cosmic Origins spectrograph and restored the dormant infrared camera and space telescope imaging spectrograph, the first and only repair of the telescope's instruments to have occurred in orbit. Recharged, kitted out and ready for its longest ride, astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis bid farewell to the Hubble telescope for the final time. And with almost every aging component completely rejuvenated, the telescope reopened its eye once again, snapping a series of tantalizing new images, including one of the iconic galaxy grouping known as Stephan's Quintet, an image so striking that it became one of the principal 5 targets of the James Webb Telescope.
is now for all teams. Even those cross-functional super teams.
By 2011, Hubble had made its 1 millionth observation, firmly cementing its legacy as one of the most successful scientific endeavours of all time. And in the following year, it illustrated this legacy with a third, even deeper rendition of the deep field image, the extreme deep field, made by compiling almost a decade's worth of observations of a smaller patch of the sky within the ultra-deep field. It revealed more than 5,500 new galaxies, the faintest of which are less than 1/10,000,000th of the brightness required by the human eye. And in the decade that has followed, Hubble has continued to image the universe from a variety of viewpoints, as the world eagerly awaited the James Webb Telescope. 2 years on from the extreme deep field, NASA released the first picture from a new deep image program, with the same objective of revealing hidden ancient galaxies, but this time using a different approach. The frontier fields were a set of 6 deep space images, created by overlaying foreground observations of a dense galaxy cluster atop a series of long exposures of a sparse patch of background space. Because massive gravitational influences, such as those exerted by galaxy clusters, are able to curve the paths of photons, certain clusters can be used as a gravitational lens for magnifying and elongating the emissions of background galaxies to a degree unattainable with artificial imaging. And in 2014, the first frontier field image was released, utilizing the 4 billion light-year distant Pandora's cluster to enlarge the emissions of more than 3,000 previously hidden ancient galaxies. And 2 years later, in 2016, Hubble smashed the cosmic distance record when it spotted a far-off but luminous primordial dwarf galaxy, more than 13.3 billion light-years from Earth. This ancient galaxy, dubbed GNZ11 after its redshift value, is thought to have formed a mere 400 million years after the birth of the universe, and remained the most distant object known to humanity for more than half a decade, before being usurped by a stream of new, even farther galaxies spotted by the James Webb Telescope. More and more in the decade of the 2020s will we see the magnificent achievements of the Hubble Space Telescope matched and exceeded by the capacities of Webb, whose comprehensive infrared coverage promises a far greater level of detail when studying the farthest corners of space. Nevertheless, Hubble still lies at the forefront of humanity's unending quest to capture a glimpse of the universe. With the earliest time Hubble might cease its operations now estimated to be 2027, who knows what else this extraordinary observatory will teach us before it closes its eye for the final time.
hand, shake it out. How many people here want to learn faster? How many people want to remember more?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीबॉडी, वेलकम बैक। कैसे रही आप सबकी पिचेस? Good. Chalo, let's wait for the results and all the best to all of you. Moving forward to panel discussion. The second panel discussion is on exploring the frontier, how the James Webb Space Telescope is shaping the future of aerospace and space exploration. For that instance, we have two amazing speakers with us along with the moderator. Our first speaker is Mr. Numan Wasim, CEO of Supreme Technocraft Aviation Services, and the second speaker is Dr. Umar Alvin, CEO of 120H Technologies Private Limited. So please join us on stage. And our own moderator, Mr. Umair Aslam, Chief Executive Officer, Global Defense Insight. Big round of applause. Sir, I would like to request कि अगर आपको अपना छोटा सा brief introduction सबको करवा दें, then मैं
कैसे हैं आप लोग? ठीक हैं? पहले तो यार बड़ा मज़ा आया आप लोगों के साथ, स्पेशली जो यंग टीम हमारे पास स्टार्टअप की, इनके लिए बहुत सारी दुआएं, ये लोग बड़ा फ्लरिश करें आगे अपने करियर में, लाइफ में। मेरा नाम नुमान वसीम है, मैं करंटली CEO
सुप्रीम टेक्नोक्रेट्स एविएशन सर्विसेज इस्लामाबाद बेस्ड हैं हम लोग, और हमारी प्रेजेंस जो है वो चाइना, टर्की, सऊदी अरेबिया, दुबई, कतर, ये हमारी टाइम टू टाइम हमारी प्रेजेंस और रेजिस्टेंस मार्केट में बनती गई। स्टार्टिंग हमारी एक डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री से हुई, कमर्शियल एविएशन में चले गए, फिर सिविल एविएशन के साथ कुछ काम करने का मौका मिला, और अब हम एयरबस और बोइंग के 1.5 रिपेयर सेंटर MRO पर काम कर रहे हैं, और ये हमारे एक नया डोमेन है। तो ये एक बेसिक सा ब्रीफ है, और एरोस्पेस के ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ रिसर्च के प्रोजेक्ट्स हम लोग कर रहे हैं इसमें एक्चुअली इंटरनेशनली। जैसे ऑस्ट्रिन, अगर आप थोड़ा सा उसको स्टडी कीजिएगा, अंकारा टर्की का जो टेक्नो पार्क है उसको साउथ एशिया में मैं उसको यहाँ पे मार्केट कर रहा हूँ। अगर वहाँ पे भी कुछ आपको स्पोर्ट्स वगैरह चाहिए होंगे तो आप मतलब मुझे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि टेक्नो पार्क जितने भी हैं ये अब एक लिमिटेड स्केल पे काम नहीं करेंगे, अल्टीमेटली वर्ल्ड वाइड एक बड़ा क्लस्टर बनेगा, और उसी तरीके से कंपनीज और स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस ग्रो करेंगे। सो हमारी कंपनी अब जो काम कर रही है वो हमारा फोकस इस चीज़ के ऊपर है कि इंटरनेशनल क्लस्टर्स को मर्ज किया जाए, और जिस तरह स्टूडेंट एक्सचेंज होते हैं वैसे हम लोग अपना टैलेंट एक्सचेंज करें। तो इसके ऊपर आज थोड़ी सी उनके फर्दर बात करेंगे।
माय नेम इज डॉक्टर मोहम्मद उमर, और जैसे नुमान ने कहा, आई एम वेरी ग्लैड टू सी ऑल दी प्रोजेक्ट्स, और उसमें से कुछ लोग तो दे आर ऑलरेडी रिच, $10,000, you don't need us, we need you now. So अच्छा लगा। मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन ये है कि मैं एंटरप्रेन्योर, बेसिकली मैं मार्केटिंग इंजीनियर और टेस्ट इंजीनियर हूँ डिफरेंट हेलीकॉप्टर्स का। एयरबस में मैं टेक रहा पाकिस्तान में 3 साल के लिए, और मेरी जो कंपनी है 128 टेक्नोलॉजीज, वी आर वर्किंग इन रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग। पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स के साथ हम लोग ये कुछ एवियोनिक्स इक्विपमेंट बना रहे हैं, उसके साथ पाकिस्तान के मिसाइल सिस्टम्स हैं, मिसाइल सिस्टम्स हैं, उनका रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग हमने की है। मेरी भी मैंने बड़ा काम किया है। बीइंग एन नॉर्मल इंजीनियर फॉर 25 years, सारा टाइम मेरा इसी में गुजरा। बहुत सारी हेलीकॉप्टर फ्लाइंग, टेस्ट फ्लाइंग की, और उसके अलावा बहुत सारे ऐसे AI के ड्रिवन सॉल्यूशंस अब मैं दे रहा हूँ जो कि रिलेटेड टू प्रेडिक्टिव एनालिटिक्स, हेल्थ टेक में है, उसके बाद क्लाइमेट टेक में हम काम कर रहे हैं। आजकल स्मॉग आई हुई है, तो हमारा एक प्रोडक्ट स्मॉग हीटिंग बोर्ड, ये अभी थोड़ा सा लोगों की समझने की तवज्जो का मरकज बना हुआ है, होप कि पाकिस्तान को ये प्रोडक्ट अच्छा सर्व करे, और इसका भी पाशा अवार्ड भी जीता है। तो हमारा ताल्लुक डिस्ट्रक्टिव टेक्नोलॉजीज को इंट्रोड्यूस कराने से, और स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजीज IST के साथ में बड़ा पहला ताल्लुक है। वैसे मैं एकेडमिक्स में KS यूनिवर्सिटी में चेयरमैन हूँ इंजीनियरिंग मैनेजमेंट का, तो पढ़ाता रहा 10-15 साल हो गए, तो बहुत ही इंडस्ट्री में कोई मुझसे छोड़ नहीं जाना रहा हूँ। सो इंशाल्लाह अच्छा डिस्कशन है।
Assalamualaikum everyone. The topic of today's panel discussion is exploring the frontiers, how James Webb Telescope is shaping the future of aerospace and space exploration. So my first question to Mr. Noman Hussain is that how has the James Webb Space Telescope expanded our understanding regarding space exploration?
आपको मैंने पहले बताया था कि मुश्किल सवाल इधर फेंकने हैं, तो आपने वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देखा,
बट हमने तो लिस्ट के मुताबिक चलना।
अच्छा, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग जी इवेंट एक कल रात का ये कि एरोस्पेस में काम करते करते हर रोज कुछ ना कुछ हम सीख रहे होते हैं। अच्छा, इसमें एक जो चीज मैंने एक मेरी लर्निंग है ना लाइफ की, कि इसमें कोई बंदा खुद को सूरमा नहीं कह सकता कि मुझे सब पता है। ये हर आए दिन एक नया सरप्राइज आपको दे रही है। जैसे कल रात को मुझे भी एक सरप्राइज मिला कि मैं अपनी तरफ से आपके लिए एक बड़े नोट्स बनाए हुए थे मैंने, और बड़ा होमवर्क किया हुआ था, बुलेट्स बनाए हुए थे। तो जब मैं सोया तो आधे घंटे में मेरी आंख खुल गई, मुझे लगा कि यार मैंने ये टेलीस्कोप जो है इसके कोई लाइव डेमोज और वीडियोस तो देखे नहीं आज तक खुद भी। इसकी एक ही तस्वीर जिंदगी में देखी हुई है जब ये लॉन्च हुआ था, तो मुझे इसके ऊपर और स्टडी करना चाहिए। तो इट टुक लाइक 4 hours, और जितना मैं उसको डीपली स्टडी करता गया वो एक नेवर एंडिंग उसका एक वो स्टडी थी सारी। ओके, 2021 में इसको लॉन्च किया गया जिनेवा स्पेस सेंटर में जो है, यहाँ से इसकी लॉन्चिंग भी हुई, ये भी पता लग गया $10 billion डॉलर का जो है ये प्रोजेक्ट था. ओके वेल ठीक है. What's next? अच्छा, मेरी एक हमेशा थिंकिंग जो है, मैं हमेशा हर पैनल डिस्कशन में बात करता हूँ, कुछ लोगों को आप डिसएग्री कर सकते हैं, लेकिन मैं कहता हूँ कि हम जिस स्टेज पे है ना पाकिस्तान, जो हो चुका है वो हो चुका है, बस उस पर ज्यादा बात करने का फायदा नहीं है. अभी हमने उससे आगे कहीं जाना है और उसमें से अपना शेयर क्या एक्सट्रैक्ट करना है, वो हमारा विन है. इस वक्त हमारे रिसोर्सेज लिमिटेड हैं, रॉ मटेरियल की सप्लाई के इश्यूज हैं, हम लोगों को जो कर रहेंगे कुछ अर्सा भी रहेंगे. हमने अपने अवेलेबल रिसोर्सेज के अंदर रहकर काम करना है. अब जब इस टेलीस्कोप को मैंने स्टडी किया था आज से 6 माह पहले एक प्रोजेक्ट के लिए, तो हमें पता लगा जी ओके ये फोल्डेबल टेक्नोलॉजी भी नहीं है, 70 फीट इसकी वो वेट था, 25 का डायमीटर है. अच्छा, इतना बड़ा वो टेलीस्कोप चला भी गया, ऊपर इंफ्रारेड टेक्नोलॉजी भी आ गई, सारा कुछ है. क्वेश्चन वॉज कि हमारा शेयर क्या है इसके अंदर, पाकिस्तान का शेयर क्या हो सकता है. हमारा तो टैग भी नहीं लगेगा, हमारी रिसर्च को कोई ऐसे एक्नॉलेज नहीं करेगा. अनटिल एंड अनलेस हमारा कोई ना कोई एंटरप्राइज या कोई कंपनी या स्टूडेंट उसका किसी एक एस्पेक्ट को उठा के उसको क्वालिफाई करे और उसकी एक रियल टाइम स्टडी नासा को सबमिट करे, जिसको वो अप्रूव करके आपको ऑन बोर्ड करें. दैट्स योर कंट्रीब्यूशन. आप मेरे ख्याल में अग्री करेंगे, क्योंकि आप गूगल से अभी एक अवार्ड जो विन किया आपने, वो सिर्फ बातों पे नहीं हुआ, वो एक चीज दिखा के हुआ. राइट, एक चीज दिखाने से हुआ, लेकिन हो गया. यूएस की बड़ी एक खूबसूरती है, उनको एक काम करके दिखा दें वो हाथ पकड़ लेते हैं आपका, वो टैलेंट पे जाने नहीं देते. तो नासा एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मेरे नजदीक हर उस टैलेंट के लिए है जिसके पास कोई टेंजेबल सोल्यूशन मौजूद है, कुछ एक काम उसने वो किया है जो उसका रियल टाइम वहां पे दिखाया जा सके, बताया जा सके, तो आपके लिए आगे दुनिया खुल जाती है वहां से. टेलीस्कोप पर हम बात करते हैं. टेलीस्कोप के जब हम बेसिक फर्स्ट उसका जो एक पर्पस था ओके जी, स्टार्स एंड गैलेक्सीज के ऊपर था. गैलेक्सीज मुझे फिर सर एक मैंने उस फिगर को 2 दफा दोबारा स्टडी किया कि 18 बिलियन ईयर्स अगो का गैलेक्सी को उसकी फाइंडिंग निकालना इज नॉट ए जोक. मतलब वो इंसान की अकल, अब जो साइंस ऑफ फिक्शन इंसान की अकल हिला रहा है ना, शायद ये वो उस स्टेज पे हम लोग आ गए हैं कि हमें वो टाइम देखना पड़ रहा है कि यस 18 बिलियन ईयर्स पहले का अगर एक टेलीस्कोप डाटा निकाल सकता है, दैट मीन्स कि अब अपॉर्चुनिटी अंडर डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज की एंटरप्राइजेस और यंग टैलेंट के लिए जनरेट हो रही है वहां से. सो हम फर्दर अब जब हम क्वेश्चंस पे जाएंगे तो हम इस पर बात करेंगे. आगे डॉक्टर साहब आपको टेक्निकल सारा भी ब्रीफ करेंगे यकीनन, लेकिन मैं जो आज बात करूंगा ना, हम यहाँ से कुछ बात तय करके उठेंगे इंशाल्लाह कि हम कर क्या सकते हैं इसके अंदर. राइट सर?
Sir, my question is to you that what are the most groundbreaking discoveries that James Webb Space Telescope has made so far?
अच्छा, जेम्स वेब, आपको जेम्स वेब क्यों नाम रखा गया था? Who was James Webb? Anyone? कोई जेम्स वेब को जानता है कि कौन था? बेसिकली ये नासा का एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर था, जिसने कि हबल का पता है आपको, हबल एक टेलीस्कोप था, और हबल का मसला ये हो गया था कि उसके लेंस में क्रैक आ गया था. इट्स अ वेरी गुड फेलियर स्टोरी, और उसके बाद फिर जेम्स वेब लॉन्च हुई. अच्छा, मैंने कुछ एक वीडियो देखी है चलाने के लिए, है उसको स्टार्ट करके फिर मैं बताऊंगा कि मैंने वीडियो की थी, उसको वो चलाना नहीं आती है. सुबह सुबह सर कह रहे हैं तो मैं भी बड़ा इंटरेस्टेड था, मैंने कहा कि आई वाज आल्सो रिसर्चिंग, तो अगर ये प्ले करते हैं तो आई जस्ट लेट यू नो कि फायदा क्या है इस चीज का. Okay, चलाइए. Okay, I want all of you, जितने सारे यहाँ माशाल्लाह यंग बच्चे और जितने भी लोग हैं, to blink your eye once, अपनी एक पलक झपकी, पलक झपक नहीं. आप देखिए जब आपने पलक झपकी है तो देखिए कायनात में क्या हो रहा है. स्टार्ट करें. what has happened in the universe. इसकी आवाज़ का जो मैक्सिमाइज करते हैं इसको. आप लोगों को पलक झपकी और उस एक पलक झपकने में there were 18 black holes जो कि फॉर्म हुए and there were so many billion stars जो कि बने. This is the value of time. जो जेम्स वेब है बेसिकली ये प्लेस्ड है 1.5 मिलियन किलोमीटर्स फ्रॉम अर्थ. एक पॉइंट उसे कहते हैं लॉन्ज टू L2. ये सन के बाहर एक पॉइंट है, वहां इन्होंने लाके से खड़ा कर दिया. तो इट इज ऑर्बिटिंग अराउंड द सन. सूर्य से जो वो लार्ज लॉन्च टू पे विच इज 1.5 मिलियन किलोमीटर अवे फ्रॉम अर्थ इस चक्कर लगा रही है. और इसका जो ताल्लुक है वो क्या है कि इसके जो लेंस है उसमें IR टेक्नोलॉजी हमें देती है, इंफ्रारेड लेंस डिटेक्शन सिस्टम है पूरा. और वो ये कर रहा है कि वो देख रहा है डीप इनटू द यूनिवर्स और वो देखना चाह रहा है कि जब हुआ था उसके बाद की जो सूरत हाल थी उसको वो देखना चाह रहे हैं. So that is a huge step in terms of exploration of the universe is concerned. And number one, number two, कि आपकी कायनात पैदा कब हुई थी. इससे पहले जो हबल थी, हबल was not that powerful by the way. हबल जो थी it was not placed around the sun. पहली बात. दूसरी बात ये कि उसका जो लेंस था it was not equipped with IR technology. ठीक है. और तीसरी बात ये कि इसमें मजे की बात है, आखिरी बात वैसे तो बड़ा लंबा टॉपिक है कि इसमें जो थर्मल रेडिएशन है जो सूरज की तरफ से आपके पास आ रही है, 5 लेयर्स बनाए गए हैं टू एक्चुअली कूल डाउन द इक्विपमेंट विच इज इन जेम्स वेब. अब वो जो टेक्नोलॉजी है ना, वो ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी है जिसको कि नासा ने बनाया और यूएस डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफेंस वाले लेके उससे आगे अपनी चीजें बना रहे हैं. सो आप ये देखें कि बाहर टेम्परेचर अगर जो है वो सन का है 3504,000 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड और अंदर जो है वो माइनस समथिंग टेम्परेचर जो रखा हुआ है टू एक्चुअली कीप द फंक्शनैलिटी ऑफ द टेलीस्कोप. सो दिस इज समथिंग वेरी एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी अबाउट दिस थिंग. ठीक है. तो दिस इज द पर्पस इज यू सी द बिग बैंग.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन इसी से रिलेटेड है कि हाउ दिस डिस्कवरी हैव द फ्यूचर एक्सप्लोरेशंस ऑफ नासा एंड यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी.
देखिए बेसिकली ये जो टेलीस्कोप है 3 एजेंसी ने फंड की है, आपको पता होना चाहिए. एक नासा अकेला कुछ नहीं करता, यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी और उसके अलावा एक और एजेंसी है विच इज द डिफेंस एजेंसी ऑफ कैनेडियन स्पेस एजेंसी. इन तीनों ने फंड किया इसको. देखिए फ्यूचर में दिखा रही है. मजे की बात है कि ये पास दिखा रही है आपको और पास के जरिए फ्यूचर की प्रेडिक्शन के बारे में बात हो रही है. आपने ब्लैक होल से कॉन्सेप्ट आपको है, वर्म होल्स आ गए हैं. वर्म होल्स आर दे आर डिफरेंट देन ब्लैक होल्स. वर्म होल ये है कि अगर आप एक टिश्यू पेपर का बॉक्स उसमें डालेंगे तो कहा जाता है कि अगली डायमेंशन में भी टिश्यू पेपर का बॉक्स सामने निकलेगा. और इस पर स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन ये कह रही है कि देयर आर 7 डायमेंशंस व्हिच आर रनिंग साइमल्टेनियसली अमंगस्ट अस. 7 दुनिया इकट्ठी डिफरेंट वाइब्रेशन लेवल हम चल रही है. दुकान में अलग अलग कहते हैं ना कि 7 आसमान और जमीन. तो अब वो बड़ी रियलिटी है कि होने वाले लोग साइंस प्रूव कर देगी इसको कि फ्रीक्वेंसी आप चेंज के फ्रीक्वेंसी बेस पे 7 आसमान और 7 यूनिवर्सल इकट्ठी पैरेलल चल रही है. दिस इज वेरी वेरी एस्टोनिशिंग. सो उसके हवाले से जेम्स वेब इज इम्पोर्टेंट अगर आप फ्यूचर एक्सप्लोरेशन की बात करते हैं.
सर नुमान, मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आपसे है कि हाउ डज द जेम्स वेब स्पेस टेलीस्कोप्स इंफ्रारेड कैपेबिलिटीज कैन ट्रांसफॉर्म द वे वी स्टडी डिस्टिंक्ट गैलेक्सीज, स्टार्स एंड एक्सप्लोर planets?
Okay. Basically, the purpose of this telescope was to identify the age of galaxy since when it was born, the elements involved in that, the procedure, and the mechanism, the natural mechanism. So it's all about the infrared capture, that mechanism. अब उसमें इसके अंदर एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज जो इस टेलीस्कोप का इंफ्रारेड की है, ये डस्ट और गैस एलिमेंट्स को क्रॉस करके एलिमेंट्स की लाइफ और उसका डाटा आपके पास लेके आता है. अच्छा, इस डाटा का क्या रिजल्ट आपके पास आ रहे हैं? किसी को आइडिया अगर हो? गैलेक्सी का अगर गैलेक्सी का इंफ्रारेड का उसको थर्मल इमेजिंग लिया उसने किसी भी टेलीस्कोप में, चाहे इसमें या किसी की भी बात करें, उसने गैस और डस्ट पार्टिकल्स के बीच में से भी जाके वो इमेजिंग ले ली, उसका क्या एडवांटेज क्या हो सकता है? वैसे जस्ट एक बच्चों को जो फ्रेश माइंड होता है ना, वो एक आइडिया जनरेट कर देता है टाइम्स. जनरली गलत आंसर भी चलेगा. ओके, ठीक है. ओके, अब देखें, उसने उस बच्चे ने बड़ा टू द पॉइंट और सही जवाब दिया. ये जो इसका रिजल्ट आ रहा है ना इस टेलीस्कोप का, वो आ रहा है कि वहाँ पे वाटर और मीथेन के क्या चांसेस हैं. अगर वो डिटेक्ट होती है तो मीन्स एलियंस की और ह्यूमन की लाइफ की पॉसिबिलिटी है गैलेक्सी और उस सियारे के ऊपर. आप कुछ कह रहे थे? जी बिल्कुल, ये होगा उसका मैकेनिज्म. जो इंफ्रारेड जो एक स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट पे जा रही है ना, उस गैलेक्सी पे, उस एक स्टार पे, उसकी एक एज पे वो कैसे बॉर्न हुआ, उसका क्या अब आगे केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशंस क्या है, सारा कुछ. तो उसमें जब वाटर वेपर कहीं पे फाइंड होता है ना, वो एक इशारा है कुदरत की तरफ एक जिंदगी का. ये मेन पर्पस है इस टेलीस्कोप का. और जहां पे उसके साथ मीथेन उसको वहां पे कहीं पे मिल जाए, दैट मीन्स अभी वाला कि कोई एलियन अगर कुछ एग्जिस्ट करते हैं तो या वो होंगे वहां पे या फ्यूचर में आ सकते हैं, या हम ही लोग डिपोर्ट किए जाएंगे वहां पे कल को एलियन बना के, हमारी कोई जेनेटिक चेंज कर दी जाएंगी और एक जनरेशन जो वो एलियन बन के एलियन का टैग लग जाएगा और वो एलियन वहां पे रह रहे होंगे. सो ये जो बच्चों ने एक आंसर किया ना, देखिए अगेन वही बात, फ्रेश माइंड. एक डिस्कवरी जो करने वाले थे वो $10 बिलियन लगा के कर चुके हैं. इसको फर्दर आगे जो है वो हमेशा फ्रेश माइंड लेके जाएगा. हमने इस टेलीस्कोप में से इसमें से कुछ बच्चा नहीं निकलना है संडे में से अब हमारे लिए. इसमें से जो जिंदगी का चांस है ना, वो हमने ढूंढने की सबने कोशिश करनी है. और जो उसमें लीड ले गया वो चैंपियन है. ये अगर $10 बिलियन का ये टेलीस्कोप है तो वो इससे डबल डील जो है वो अपने नाम करवा के वहां से आ सकता है. इस कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर इन सेमिनार्स का, सेशंस का, कॉन्फ्रेंस का पर्पस, वर्कशॉप का और पैनल सेशंस का मेरे नजदीक हमेशा यही रहा कि प्रैक्टिकल बात करनी चाहिए हमें, रादर देन एक वो हम बुकिश बात करके इसको खत्म कर दें तो वो टाइम अब खत्म हो गया. आगे वाले टाइम पे सुना क्या वो डिग्रीज भी नहीं चलेंगी, कुछ भी नहीं, और सिर्फ टैलेंट ही चलेगा. तो व्हाई नॉट हम आज से ही उस पर काम वैसे ही करें. तो मुझे मतलब वो एक वाइब आया कि शायद ये बच्चे जवाब दे सकेंगे. और मैं अब इनसे मुझे डर लग रहा है कि ये 1-2 सेशंस के बाद ना हमें फंसा लेंगे. तो नूर, मैं तो आइंदा नहीं आऊंगा यहाँ पे, ये बच्चे जो है ना ये टफ टाइम देंगे आइंदा. तो मतलब माशाल्लाह जो होता है ना आपका एक बेसिक जो फ्रेश माइंड होता है, वो ऐसी ऐसी चीज आपको डिस्कवर करके देता है कि अच्छा नासा भी ऐसे ही चला है
कि इन सारों के अगर आप बैकग्राउंड स्टडीज करें ना, तो इन्होंने यूएस कनाडा में स्कूल के बच्चों से ही डाटा लेना शुरू करते हैं इनिशियली, और उससे आगे उसको लेके चलते हैं। फिर वो रिसर्च के मेथोडोलॉजी, रिसर्च के क्या वो क्वांटिटेटिव है, क्वालिटेटिव है, और जो साइंस और बुक्स कहती हैं वो सारा इन्वॉल्व हो जाता है, और फिर R&D स्टेज उसके बाद आती है। तो हम लोग का एक ये बड़ा बैड लक है कि हम हमेशा यंग टैलेंट को इतना इनकरेज ही नहीं कर पाया। इससे पहले नासा का सर मैंने एक इवेंट किया था जिसको जज किया, ये स्पेस ऐप चैलेंज। यू वोंट बिलीव कि मुझे एक चारसदा से और एक कोयटा से ऐसे ही यंग बच्चों का एक ग्रुप मिला जो कि कार्बन ओमिशन पे काम कर रहे हैं, जिसमें पाकिस्तान में आज तक किसी ने सोचा ही नहीं है। अब एक कंपनी जो है वो UAE से यहाँ पे मूव की है और वो अपना सेटअप बना रही है, लेकिन वो 2 रिमोट एरियाज में। तो उन बच्चों को भी अब हम लोगों ने जो है वो कनेक्ट करवाया है इंटरनेशनल फोरम्स के साथ। सो पहली चीज है आपका विजन, सोच आ जाए तो रास्ता खुद बनता है।
How has the collaboration between NASA, European Space Agency and Canadian Space Agency on the set new precedents for international cooperation in space exploration?
देखिए ये सवाल बड़ा अच्छा है। इसमें जो सबसे मजे की चीज़ है ना, वो जो मैं जब स्टडी कर रहा था वही है, ये तीनों आपको पता है कि सिर्फ टेलीस्कोप लॉन्च कर देने के बाद अभी तक काम खत्म नहीं हुआ। व्हाट वी थिंक इसके लिए टेलीस्कोप लॉन्च होगी अपना काम कर रही है, दैट्स इट, ऐसा नहीं। एक बड़ी मजे की चीज़ वो लोग कर रहे हैं तीनों एजेंसीज मिलकर कोलैबोरेशन के हवाले से, जो अपॉर्चुनिटी है। आप पता है टेलीस्कोप में एरर भी आता है और कैलिब्रेशन होती है। यू नो व्हाट इज कैलिब्रेशन? कैलिब्रेशन इज कि आप उसको एरर को खत्म करते हैं। क्या कोई बता सकता है कि जो इस तरह की टेलीस्कोप है जो बहुत दूर चली गई है, 1.5 मिलियन किलोमीटर खड़ी हुई है, उसका एरर कैसे रिमूव होता होगा? कैलिब्रेशन कैसे होती होगी उसकी? एनीवन? थ्रू सिग्नल्स एंड ओके, एक ही जगह की पिक्चर्स लेके आप इम्प्रूव करें। यू नो व्हाट दे डू? अब देखो कितना कितना इंजीनियस आइडिया उनके पास। दे क्रिएट एरर्स बाय देमसेल्व्स, वो खुद ब खुद उसमें एरर डालते हैं। सो देयर आर 20 डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ एरर्स व्हिच दे क्रिएट इन दैट टेलीस्कोप, और वो एरर क्रिएट करते हैं, उससे पता लगता है उनको कि कितना एरर आ गया और उसके मुताबिक रेमेडी कर देते हैं। सो दे एक्चुअली सेल्फ जनरेट अनकैलिब्रेटेड एरर्स, और उस एरर को फिर दूर करते हुए वो कैलिब्रेट हो जाती है दोबारा। सो अभी तक जो मैं इसमें देख रहा था, देयर आर अराउंड 25 डिफरेंट कैलिब्रेशन एरर्स जो उन्होंने ठीक किए हैं ऑन दिस टेलीस्कोप। और एक एरर ठीक करना ऐसा नहीं है कि एकदम हो जाए। जो लोग DSP या सिग्नल्स वाले हैं, अब देखिए वो 1.5 मिलियन किलोमीटर दूर है, तो अगर आप अभी बटन दबाते हैं तो उसको तकरीबन 24 घंटे लगते हैं वहां एक्शन होने में, और फिर वहां से जो वापस आता है डेटा तो 24 घंटे लग जाते हैं। सो इट टेक्स अराउंड 5 days टू गेट समथिंग यहाँ से एक्शन करने में, उसका रिएक्शन आने में। सो अभी इनके पास तकरीबन जो मैं पढ़ रहा था, देयर आर अराउंड 150 इंजीनियर्स जो एक रूम में बैठे हुए हैं, सारे तीनों मिला के आपके सवाल का जवाब, और वो सब ये कर रहे होते हैं कि वो हर दफा कोई एरर को कैलिब्रेट कर रहे होते हैं, रिकैलिब्रेशंस कर रहे होते हैं, और इस तरह टेलीस्कोप को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं।
सर मेरा लास्ट क्वेश्चन अभी करंट जो एनवायरनमेंट उससे रिलेटेड है कि अभी जो ट्रम्प एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में एलन मस्क जा रहे हैं, तो ये किस तरीके से US और चाइना की जो स्पेस राइवलरी है उसको किस तरीके से अमेरिका के लिए किस तरीके से अच्छा स्टेप होगा एलन मस्क का ट्रम्प एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में जाना?
अच्छा, इस सवाल का ताल्लुक टेलीस्कोप से बिल्कुल नहीं है।
आई नो, लेकिन ये बेसिकली स्पेस,
लेकिन इट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन। तो हम ये करते हैं कि जब इस तरह के सवाल मुश्किल आ जाए हम कहते हैं नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। लेकिन इसका जवाब देखो, देखिए एलन मस्क ने क्या किया, उसने ना प्राइवेटाइज कर दिया स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन को। वो कहता है कि किसी मुल्क की जरूरत नहीं, किसी सरहद की जरूरत नहीं है। सो व्हाट दे विल डू इज दैट दे विल डू प्राइवेटाइज मोर। अब जो एलन मस्क है ना, वो अब उसको ले जाएगा कंट्री लेवल पे, कंपनी लेवल पे, और वहां से फिर आगे चलेगा। अच्छा, यहाँ जो सब बात कर रहे हैं ना, माशाल्लाह सर का एक्सपीरियंस भी सर को मैं जानता भी हूँ, दिस इज अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर अस। जब आप प्राइवेटाइज कर देते ना चीज को, तो से एआई में काम करने वाले लोग या हम जैसे जो एसएमईज के या एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, हम कोई ऐसा सोल्यूशन बना के फेंक सकते हैं जो उसको पसंद आए, वो उठाए और कहे कि आ जाओ यार तुम्हारे साथ और काम करना है. दिस इज अपॉर्चुनिटी. सो प्लीज.
अच्छा, ये होता है कि जो पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चंस होते हैं ना, क्योंकि आपका एक ताल्लुक भी ग्लोबल डिफेंस और उससे है, तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग एक फैक्ट है जो कि डिफेंस की दुनिया में 10 साल मुझे हो गए इस डोमेन में काम करते हुए. ये बड़े ट्रिकी क्वेश्चंस इंटरनेशनल फोरम से भी सुनने को मिलते हैं. इसका हम आंसर हमेशा राइट लेफ्ट करके घुमा दिया जाता है. लेकिन अगर बिल्कुल एक स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड सच्चा आंसर मैं आपको इसका करूँ ना, ये सिर्फ दुनिया ने एक दूसरे को एक फूल अराउंड फॉर्मूला बनाया हुआ है. अगर आप स्पेस, एरोस्पेस और टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करें तो चाइना और यूएस ये कोलैबोरेटिवली इतना प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं और इतने काम कर रहे हैं, इवन इंडिया आपका, कि वो आप इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते. ये सिर्फ हम जो अंडर डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज हैं, ये हमें बिजी रखने का फॉर्मूला भी है कि हम बड़ा खुश हो रहे थे, यार वो राइवल है, वो नहीं करेगा, वो इसको नहीं चलने देगा, ये वो सारा कुछ ठीक है. राइवली हो सकती है, ब्रांड की हो सकती है, एलन मस्क की हो सकती है, टेस्ला की हो सकती है, चाइना के साथ डिफरेंट ब्रांड्स के साथ कितनी रहेगी. एंड ऑफ द डे चाइना उसका बहुत बड़ा सबसे बड़ी पॉपुलेशन चाइना की है. चाइना के साथ हमेशा दुश्मनी रही थी जापान की वजह से, लेकिन टोयोटा ने ऐसे पेनिट्रेट किया और चाइना ने एक्सेप्ट किया. बड़ा कस्टमर है ना. आपका इंडिया भी इग्नोर नहीं हो सकता. आबादी है, अपॉर्चुनिटी यहां से निकलेगी, अब निकलेगी कि अब प्राइवेट स्पेस सेंटर्स की जगह इंडिया में हमें एक बहुत पुरानी, मुझे मूवी का नाम याद नहीं आ रहा अभी, ये एक स्पेस बेस्ड मूवी थी. कुछ यंग बच्चे होते हैं और एक स्पेस इंस्टीट्यूट बनता है, उसको ज्वाइन करते हैं. अच्छा, ये मेरे ख्याल में 10-12 साल पहले मैंने देखी थी. आज उनका स्पेस प्रोग्राम चल गया ना. देखिए, कभी भी आपको ये नहीं कहना चाहिए कि हमारा वो राइवल है, या मैं ऐसे देखता हूँ कि हमारा नेबर है. उसका हर एक्शन का इम्पैक्ट हम पे आना है, अच्छा हो या बुरा हो. तो हमें मिलके चलने पे अब फोकस करना है हर चीज के ऊपर. जैसे कि यूएस एंड चाइना, इनके रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट्स इकट्ठे काम कर रहे हैं बहुत सारी चीजों के ऊपर, और जहां से जिसको टेक्नोलॉजी मिलती है उसको अडॉप्ट करता है और उससे आगे बढ़ रहा है. अब हमारे लिए क्या अपॉर्चुनिटी है सारे के अंदर कि हमने कहां से फिट इन होना है. अगेन मैं बात करूंगा फिट इन होने की. मैं कभी भी अनरियलिस्टिक बात नहीं करता कि हमने इंस्टीट्यूट आज ही बनाना है और कल उसको खड़ा करना है, परसों अपना रॉकेट लॉन्च कर देना है. नहीं, हमने बेबी स्टेप्स लेने, हमें बेबी स्टेप्स की जरूरत है इस वक्त. और अच्छा, एक और बड़ा मसला बताऊं हम लोगों का क्या है, हम लोग आपस में काम नहीं करते. इवन नाइकेट के अंदर कंपनीज आपस में काम नहीं करना चाहते. ये मैंने हमेशा देखा. सिर्फ नाइकेट का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, पूरे पाकिस्तान का हमारा प्रॉब्लम है. होना ही चाहिए कि बिजनेस पहले अपने घर में देना. अगर ये बच्चों का सेमीकंडक्टर का यहाँ पे सेमीकंडक्टर किसी ने बनाया था, हमने देखा था सेंटर में किसी का स्टॉल था, आप उनको सपोर्ट करेंगे, इनको बिठाएं साथ, इनको कहें बेटा अपना डिजाइन दो. आपने है वो जिन्होंने बनाया था, किसने बनाया था, एक सेंसर जिन्होंने बनाया, हैंड वाले ना, आपने बनाया था. आपने $10 क्लेम किया, आपने वो बनाया. आप इन बच्चों को सपोर्ट करो, इनके साथ बैठो, इनको सेंसर डेवलप करके दो. अच्छा, अब आप डेवलप करोगे तो ये आपके जो है ना पहला कस्टमर आपका ये होगा. ये जिस चीज के लिए ग्रांट मिलेगी वो घर पे मिल गई उसको. ऐसी चीजें फ्लोरिश करेंगी. हमने इन कंपटीशन से इस कंपटीशन को स्ट्रेंथ बनाना है. स्ट्रेंथ बना के एक सोल्यूशन या प्रोडक्ट लेके इस तरह के प्रोग्राम्स के अंदर पेनिट्रेट करना है. हम अकेला कहीं भी कुछ नहीं कर सकेंगे, ये याद रखिएगा. ये बहुत बड़ी एक है हमारे लिए अब बनने में कि वो जो डिवाइड एंड रूल था ना, वो हम भुगत चुके हैं, भुगत नहीं होता. अब हमने एक को आगे बढ़ना है. और किसी एक, अच्छा नाइकेट है ना, नाइकेट को हमेशा कहता हूँ कि आपका एक लॉन्चिंग पैड है. ये इसने आपको ऐसे हाथ रखा है और इसने फाइनल आपको लॉन्च करना है, जिसका वो होता है ना ड्रोन लॉन्चर या रॉकेट लॉन्चर, उसने आपको धक्का देना आगे. आगे आपने अपनी उड़ान खुद लेनी है. उसमें बहुत सारे लोग गिर भी जाते हैं, कुछ कर देंगे उसको आगे. तो उसको एज ए टीम जो आप काम करें आप लोग सारे, और एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट जनरेट करें आपस में मिलके कि हमने इस पे काम करना और इसको चला जाए, ये आपकी सक्सेस बनेगी। बिलीव मी, ये इतना बड़ा आपका कंट्रीब्यूशन होगी पाकिस्तान के लिए कि वो एक नया एवेन्यू खोल देगी।
Now audience will take my place, and if you guys have any question, you are free to ask any questions from our respected guests.
Any questions from the audience? I think audience को results का इंतजार है.
We have a question. Yes.
बच्चों ने बताया था आपको कि जो टेलीस्कोप है वो क्या कर रही है कि वो ये देख रही है कि यूनिवर्स जो थी वो पैदा कैसे हुई थी। वो आप मुख्तलिफ जो लाइट निकल रही है ना, बहुत पहले जब लाइट निकली होगी किसी स्टार्स के टूटने से, वो अब हम तक पहुंच रही है। अब नेट से बिलियन ईयर पहले जो स्टार टूटा था उससे जो लाइट निकली थी वो टेलीस्कोप को कैप्चर करती है, उससे इमेज जनरेट करती है उस स्टार का जो था पहले समय में। तो ये क्या करें टेलीस्कोप, ये आपको जो स्टार्स खत्म हो चुकी हैं, जो गैलेक्सीज खत्म हो चुकी हैं, उनके बारे में बता रही है, उनकी तस्वीर कैसी होती थी। Thanks.
No more questions? Okay, thank you very much, dear speakers. Thank you very much, Numan Hussain. Thank you very much, Umar Azzi. Okay, it's time for celebration, but before moving towards the celebration, I would like to invite Saad Tariq, Project Director, NICAT, to deliver a keynote. Please join us on stage.
Welcome. Like you said, my name is Saad. I'm the current project director here. Coming in and out. So just taking a peek and taking it in. The आवाज आ रही है वैसे? I'm told I'm very loud. So मेरे ख्याल से पीछे वैसे भी आ रही होगी. But anyway, अभी मैं ये बात सुन रहा था. Thank you for the question. I think James Webb is such a recent technology और phenomena जो हमें बहुत सारी excitement दे रहा है. From the curiosity कि क्या Proxima B पे life है, to having deeper images of even the sun to the other planets. तो मुझे ख्याल आया आप लोगों की बात सुनते हुए, और आप लोगों को भी मैं अभी स्टेज पे इनवाइट करूंगा क्योंकि आई एम वेरी इम्प्रेस्ड एंड इंस्पायर्ड, और जो भी आपसे मिला है I think as a founder and as people who are focused toward developing founders primarily and startup sort of like a middle thing, but हम लोग जो basically हमारा एक बहुत focus होता है कि as a founder is the person who you are, what is inside you, the dream, talent, skill वगैरह चीजें बाद में आती हैं, उससे ज्यादा आता है passion, want, desire. So a lot of this programming is about inflection, अपने अंदर को देखना, जहाँ पे जेम्स वेब है वो बाहर को देखना सिखा रहा है. Technology, that is the technology. ये what we're talking about is personal training, inflection. मेरा विजन क्या है, मैं क्या इम्पैक्ट डालना चाहता हूँ दुनिया के अंदर, क्या वो चेंज है, क्या वो प्रॉब्लम है, क्या वो अपॉर्चुनिटी है जिससे मैं सबके लिए हमारी लाइफ बेहतर करूंगा. एंड आई थिंक देन इन दैट स्टार्टअप वो चीज है जो मेरे अंदर की ड्रीम को उस बाहर की विजन को कनेक्ट करेगा, जेम्स वेब की विजन. सो स्टार्टअप इज द कनेक्ट बिटवीन हैविंग टेक्नोलॉजी एंड माय ड्रीम. उसको मैं कैसे लाके मैनिफेस्ट करके दुनिया चेंज करूंगा, और इसी के बीच में सारा जो है इंटरप्ले है, बिकॉज आप जितना अंदर देखें, और अंदर देखने के लिए एम्पैथी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. दिस इज हाउ दिस लीडरशिप एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की ओरिएंटेशन आल्सो टिपिकली स्टार्ट. एंड वेब और नई टेक्नोलॉजी जो आएंगी वो हमें फर्दर दिखाएंगी जो एक्चुअली अंदर का ही व्यू है, और हमारा जो डिजायर है वो स्टार्टअप के थ्रू हम लोग इम्पैक्ट करेंगे. मैं शुरू के अंदर डेवलपमेंट वर्ल्ड के अंदर कुछ अर्सा रहा, तो दैट वाज आल्सो अबाउट मेकिंग अ चेंज इम्पैक्ट. डेवलपमेंट वर्ल्ड से ही इनफैक्ट मैं एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की तरफ आया था, रादर बिजनेस का भी थोड़ा था पीछे बैकग्राउंड, बट एसेंशियली आई मीन आई गॉट ल्यूर्ड इनटू दिस स्पेस क्योंकि यहाँ पे सस्टेनेबिलिटी की हम बात करते हैं. वहाँ सस्टेनेबिलिटी आजकल तो बज़वर्ड बहुत ज्यादा, ग्रीन टेक्नोलॉजी, एनवायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट. एक्चुअली सस्टेनेबिलिटी शुरू हुई थी डिसेबल्ड और इंक्लूजन करने की उन लोगों के पास जो कि इम्पावरिस्ट हैं या लेस रिसोर्सफुल है. बट अब वो वाइडर एक फिनोमेना या चैलेंज या इशू या कॉज बन गया जहाँ पे हमें अपनी दुनिया को इस तरह का बनाना है कि हमारी क्वांटिटी हो सके। अब आप स्मॉग का इशू देख रहे हैं, अब आप यहाँ कल्चरल चैलेंजेस देख लें, रेगुलेटरी चैलेंजेस देख लें, फाइनेंशियल बैरियर्स देख लें, क्लास के डिफरेंसेस देख लें, there is a person who wants to change this. That is in them. There is a technology now, or we have the vision to develop the technology which through a startup is sustainable to create the impact and make. मैंने जितने research वाले देखे हैं, I'm very encouraged. We have young inspirations. जो टेक्नोलॉजी जो कि पाकिस्तान के अंदर सेमीकंडक्टर टेक्नोलॉजी is one of the most challenging things to do. Not just skill set, expertise, access to that hardware experts, but also because of regulatory barriers and world politics we see the effect of. From that to people who are taking existing technologies to build such business cases या use cases जो आप और मेरे कर सकते हैं. एक और बहुत ज़्यादा इंस्पिरेशन आप लोगों का था जिसके अंदर आप लोग एग्जिस्टिंग गूगल अर्थ के मैप लेके, चैट जीपीटी के नए LLMs लेके, वॉइस टू वॉइस रिकग्निशन से और फिर कोड के आप लोग लेयर्स गूगल मैप्स के ऊपर जो मैं कहूंगा वो एक लेमैन कहेगा उसको उस तरह की मैपिंग मिल जाएगी. अमेजिंग. सो दिस इज एन अमेजिंग यूज केस जहां मल्टीपल टेक्नोलॉजी के हुए आप और मेरे लिए आज कल के लिए ऐसी चीज क्रिएट करेंगे जो फिर हम अपने इम्पैक्ट के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं. सो आई एम अगेन एवरी टाइम आई एम इन ऑ एंड इंस्पायर्ड. आई थिंक सो माय बैकग्राउंड इज सॉफ्टवेयर टेक का भी है, जर्नलिज्म स्टार्ट का भी है, लॉ भी मैंने किया, एकेडमिया में भी रहा, ट्रेनिंग के अंदर भी रहा, बहुत सारी कहीं भी पंगे लेते रहे सीखने के शौक का. एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के अंदर मुझे ये वाली हमेशा फ्लेवर नजर आया, वो हर चीज में घुस के हर चीज की इच्ची पिच्ची करना चाहते हैं. सो मैं बहुत ज्यादा एंजॉय करता हूँ और मैं वाकई अभी आई थिंक आई एम इन दिस स्पेस बिकॉज आई लव watching people and humans do it. And then you're talking about a practical startup जो actually impact भी करेगा wider objective scale के ऊपर. So I am always inspired in awe. I love this space. For any of you, the doors are always open to this NIC, to other NICs, to और आप देखेंगे आप जितने entrepreneur, VCs, mentors के पास जाएंगे, माशाल्लाह they are very humble people ready to help you. And this is a sort of culture, values and vision जो कि ये सारी exposure हर एक के अंदर enable करता है और वो primary चीज है success के लिए. And today, this research showcase symposium में ये जो experts हैं वो अपने experience, अपने knowledge, अपने practical experience से जो है वो बातें share करते हैं. They are wisdom for all of us. And this shared collective wisdom से ही we will together go the next step. उस sense के अंदर I think we should take a moment to applaud, to appreciate creation and God's grace on each of us. And then हम अपने celebrate करना चाहिए और अपने इन कॉलीग्स या हम देखें हम एज इंसान हैं इस दुनिया में जब तक है हमने ये संभालना है मिलकर और अल्लाह का करम. उस सेंस में आई विल टेक अ मिनट जस्ट टू अपलॉज ईच ऑफ अस एंड ईच अदर टू सेलिब्रेट दिस ब्लेसिंग एंड ईच अदर. थैंक यू वेरी मच. और ये और ये कॉम्पिटिशन तो बहाने होते हैं. दिस डज नॉट से कौन कितना इंपैक्टफुल मीनिंगफुल काम कर रहा है. दिस जस्ट अ टोकन ऑफ एक्नॉलेजमेंट. आज उसको हर एक को कल को कोई ना कोई मिलता है. पर्सनल सेटिस्फैक्शन और विजन अपनी फुलफिल होने से मेरे ख्याल से ज्यादा कोई प्लेजर या हैप्पीनेस के मुकाम का भी मिलता है. So thank you everybody, thank you participants, thank you people who showcased, thank you people who participated just as an audience, and we hope that we will see much more of you. And I think I would like Sarah to now take on the next step.
Thank you very much, Tariq. Please stay on stage. Okay, this is the time to announce the winner. For that instance, I would like to invite Mr. Numan Wasim. Please join us on stage. Dr. Umar Alvi, Mr. Ali Zain, here come Raza Haider Saab. Sarah, please join in. Okay, दिल की धड़कनें तेज. विनर पहले अनाउंस करूँ, रनर अप अनाउंस करें. रनर अप अनाउंस करते हैं जरा, विनर थोड़ी देर और. ओके, द रनर अप इज जियो AI रिसर्च. Good job. announce the winner. The winner is Arm Rehab Technologies.
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions.
Very well done. Okay, एक वेरी लास्ट मोमेंट के ऊपर डिसीजन लिया गया हमारे जजेस के एंड से एंड वी आर गोइंग टू प्रेजेंट एन ऑनररी प्रेजेंट टू आवर वन ऑफ द स्टार्टअप हमारे यंग स्टार्टअप एडवांस्ड माइक्रोचिप असेंबलीज प्लीज जॉइन अस ऑन स्टेज बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज Prize money will be given to them very soon. Thank you very much. Please wait over here. I would like to please join in. Ajan, everyone, the winner, runner-up, and all the participants. Please join us on the stage.
When I fall down, I have to pick myself up. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions. Oh, I have a vision, can't you see? I'm on the move, wait for me. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself up. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up.
Thank you very much, everyone. I would like to request all the judges to please join us in the conference room for lunch and all the participants to join in for lunch in Eat and Play area.
For the champions, stand up.
Handball out, Zen now.